You're listening to Zen and the Art of Endurance, your podcast for getting great at going long.
Hey there, all you endurance freaks and geeks. This is Coach Brett with another great episode of Zen and the Art of Endurance, the podcast where we go long and learn a lot about ourselves along the way. What I have for you today is something epic. It's quite a long show. I take the recorder along with me on a long bike ride, and then I trimmed it down. I got rid of all the excess, but we're still left with 3 hours of audio where I'm covering what happened at Unbound, including some tech and tips and tricks and new bikes, all that stuff. With the audio of me going on a long 50-50 gravel pavement, and it's pretty nice. But then some of the craziest stuff happened on this show. So you don't have to listen to all 3 hours to go find it. I actually time-stamped where it happened in the recording. And so you just need to add however long this is to what I'm about to tell you. So if you want to hear the part where I got chased by a Pitbull and sprayed him with water, the part where I got chased by a Cottonmouth, which is a very venomous snake, as I tried to get it out of the road, it jumped at me. That's in here as well. I almost get hit by an 18-wheeler. And then as I'm riding along, minding my own business, Gary, one of my really good friends who was out for a ride, rides by the other direction. And so we hooked up together and rode the rest of the ride together. And then about 30 minutes after he and I meet up, we crash into each other, which is so on point for this podcast where we're talking about Unbound and all the crashing and such. He hits a pothole. It bends my front wheel. Not bad. We've already got it straightened out. But by the end of the ride, it's 105 degrees. I've got a wobbly front wheel. We've crashed into each other. We decide to call it quits. So then you get to hear the audio at the very end of me calling Emily and her asking if she needs to come pick me up. And I'm like, well, not really, but it wouldn't be the worst thing ever. And I want to go back here a second. It takes two people to crash, so I'm not blaming Gary. But on the phone call, I'm like, Gary totally crashed into me, which is funny because that's not what happened. I could have given him more space and as the pothole was coming and warned him, and he was looking over my shoulder at something and then hit this pothole and then crashed into me. So it takes two to tango. And it's just kind of funny. Gary crashed into me, and that's not at all what happened. That's he hit something, and then we crashed into each other. And oh man, he had to go I don't know if he went to the emergency. I don't think he went to the emergency room, but he went to the doctor and showed me pictures the next day. Dude, he had a giant gash in his elbow, and I'm relatively okay. I got raspberry on my hip, so this is all in the show. It's just spaced out over really long audio of all the sounds and the beauty of the countryside and the cicadas and the cars. And I go through a gas station into the bathroom. You can hear me in the bathroom filling up water bottles. And I really try to capture, the aura of a long gravel ride or just a road ride in general. And it's really cool. So the show's 3+ hours long, but it's really enjoyable. And then a few times during the show, I mentioned that I'm going to talk about in the next step or at the end of the show, my theories on what causes all the crashes at Unbound. It's not riding side by side with your friend and then he hits a pothole, although that could totally happen. But I've got some really interesting theories what that is. But this show's already so long, I'm going to record that in another show. We got plenty of time to do that. And also in the news, a triathlete got paralyzed, although he may be coming out of it. I had a friend that got paralyzed one time in a football accident, and then he was paralyzed for like a week or two and slowly got his feeling back, and he's fine now. So hopefully that's what happens. But jumping off of the ferry at Alcatraz, it's a tall jump. And I know because I've done it. I've done the exact thing that this guy got paralyzed from. And they try to space you out as you jump off the ferry and tell you, don't go yet. And they have people standing there saying, don't go. But you can easily imagine somebody gets overzealous. And when you jump off, let's say it's a 10-foot drop. I don't know if it's that high. But anyway, you plunge and you're underwater, so the next person really can't see you. So you're supposed to wait until that person in front of you comes up and then you go, so that you don't land on them. But apparently that's where it went wrong, and somebody landed on top of somebody and paralyzed them. So that's in the news. But by the way, yeah, I did do Escape from Alcatraz. I qualified for it straight up by getting second in my age group at a massive triathlon that, in the 30 or maybe 40 something age group. And man, once I found out that was a qualifier for that triathlon, I put it all on the line and about killed myself to get into that race, because I've always grown up with, swimming the Alcatraz Strait in San Francisco Bay. It's like impossible, and to find out that you could actually do it is really cool. And so I did the swim along with everybody else, and then the rest of it was the bike and the run. It was kind of like just the gravy, the icing on the cake. I didn't really, wasn't all that competitive in that kind of part. I just wanted to say that I've swam Alcatraz, which was totally worth it, like super cool to say that you did it. Anyway, one other piece of gravel technology that I forgot to mention in the show was some guy mounted like a syringe of chain lube behind his seat post, up high where he could do it. Maybe behind this, maybe behind the seat too, but anyway, it doesn't matter. So behind him, under his butt. And then he could squeeze his thumb on it and it would inject down into this tube that was dangling, I guess, right onto his chain lube. And I don't know if it was wax like Squirt, because that's real liquidy, or if it was oil, which would probably work as good or better. But after the show, or after the race, he mentioned he was being interviewed, and he said, yeah, I totally did this, and it was wonderful. And then I was listening to the Bonk Bros, and Dylan Johnson said that he's actually seen that back in 2016 in Costa Rica. A lot of people do that. That's a pretty cool piece of technology, or a hack that people do to lube their chains along the way. And it was just on there with a little syringe and zip ties, I guess. So yeah, we're gonna go about, let's say 10 minutes here. So get out your pen and paper. Now these are the times for how deep it is into the show. So right about now, you would add about 10 minutes to this, okay? I get chased by a Pitbull at 41 minutes and 30 seconds. So write that down. And this, you go listen to this and then come back and listen to the rest of it anytime you want. Chased by a Cottonmouth snake I get attacked by a Cottonmouth at 1 hour and 44 minutes in. I almost get hit by an 18-wheeler at 1 hour and 59 minutes in. And I bump into Gary at 2 hours and 12 minutes in, and we start talking about everything from creatine to God knows what else. It's a really good conversation. And so we're just talking and chatting along and having a nice old time. And then you hear me go, ah, and Gary go, ah, and then we crash into each other. And then my bike computer, I had to pick it up 30 feet down the road. That's how hard we slammed into the ground. It was like a yard sale, bottles everywhere, all that kind of stuff. And that's at 2 hours and 42 minutes in. So you take all those times, add 10, 12 minutes, and then you'll be able to scan and go find it. And as always, this is one of my favorite ways to make shows. And what I do is I go back and listen to it, and I edit out big gaps of where I'm not saying anything or it's just not interesting. And so you get this thing where every once in a while I'll say something like, okay, we're going to go down this road. It's about a mile long. And then we're going to do a U-turn. And then just 3 seconds later, I go, okay, we're doing a U-turn. That's because I clipped it out, the whole long part where I didn't say anything. And also, I'm working on the sound. It's really crunchy when I'm riding on gravel, and I know that. And I need to work on I got like 3 or 4 different sound filters I can use. The cool thing is that when it's quiet, it picks up everything, like the cicadas and the birds, which sounds so nice. And if there's a creek channel or something like that, the burbling of the creek, it's like really, really cool. It's wonderful. The problem is it's picking up the gravel so much that I'm going to work on trying to get that edited out, or using a different sound filter so it's not so bad. But until then, this is what we got. And as always, if it's bothering you at first, just listen to it for a little bit longer. It's really interesting how the mind, once it gets used to something, it kind of starts to filter it out. There's all kinds of things in your life that are actually that your mind has filtered out that you don't even really notice. And if you listen long enough, the gravel is just kind of just the sound, And what is cool about it is you can totally tell when I go from pavement to gravel and pavement to gravel. And it's a lot back and forth, and it's kind of neat. So when I'm headed into the woods on a gravel road instead of just out on the highway with some cars. All right, let's get rolling with the show and enjoy. All right, we are in the Zen-Tri garage studios. I guess we're getting ready to go on a 4-hour ride. It's going to hit 103, 105 today. I think tomorrow's going to be 107. So we've got a Camelback with ice in it to nurse our hot bodies along the way. And I just thought I'd record some of the sounds of getting ready, since so many of y'all are very familiar with that. And another thing that I found that really works, I live in a really humid environment. We're in Central Texas, pretty close to Austin, between Austin and Houston. And I've learned that sometimes it's really nice to go ahead and wet your hair. Oh, I need to turn the radar back on. There you go. I just didn't like it blinking while I'm in the garage. It's about to drive me mad. And we are on the single speed flat bar gravel bike with a mountain bike front tire. And what else we got going on this thing? I'll talk more about that later. We want to talk about Unbound more first. We'll see if we switch the setup here partway through the ride just for fun. I'm doing a lapel mic right now. And let's see, we got power meter pedals. So this bike's really old school and new school at the same time. There it goes, it's picking things up. And I got heart rate. Nah, we're not going to bother calibrating the power meter. We're just a training ride. All right, let's go ahead and open the garage. Get this bike out. Our overhead garage door motor broke, and I haven't fixed it yet. And man, I don't like how soft that rear tire is. Let's add a little bit more air to that. Yeah, I like that better. PSI and low tire pressures needs to be relative to your body weight as well. Loading up the bike with fuel. Taking a sip off the top. New heart rate sensor found. I don't know about that. Yeah, so when I start off on a ride, I'm cooler right from the beginning because my hair's wet. You don't have to build up an excess of body heat and then start cooling down. You're cool right from the start. It's a pretty cool little trick. On the show, we do lots of tips and tricks because I've been racing triathlon and cycling since the 90s, I guess. This is when I did my first mountain bike racing. I had a Cannondale Super V and was terrible at it, but really loved it because I grew up on BMX bikes, like out of Stranger Things, the kids running around. And then got into triathlon in the early 2000s and worked my way up to Ironman. And I've done 15 or 18 Ironmans. I lose track. I did an Ultraman and got really good at that stuff and really liked it. And then got into gravel biking to get off the road, and because you could put aero bars on gravel bikes, just started doing it as cross training for Ironman training, and just completely fell in love with it. And I still train at a half Ironman to almost Ironman level. You have to be completely dedicated to doing Ironman. You can only do that get to that level of running and biking, so many times a year. So I just kind of stay around a half Ironman level, and then ramp it up for whatever sport I'm doing at the moment. And let's see. So yeah, the later half of the show, we got some swimming stuff. And if you're new to the show, I grew up my primary sport was swimming, and just would escape on the bike to go think, and I still do that today.
And during the process to get better at Ironman, I started doing ultra marathons and ended up doing a whole bunch of 50s, got really good at doing the 50, and then I've done a 100-miler. And yeah, let's get away from the house because there's a power meter in there on a Zwift trainer that I want to get away from. Oh, did I mention the other thing about this bike is it's a single speed. So we got that going on. There we go. With Unbound, we're going to talk about, I guess, some of the cool tech and gear that we saw first. There's just a few little things, and then the obvious things. And then I want to talk about race results. Check out the bike computer. We got power, we got heart rate. It's already 81 degrees at 7:15. So that's fun. And yeah, we'll talk about the tech on the bikes and compare it to what I'm riding right now, just for for a point of reference of what's slow and what's fast. And then yeah, the race results. I wait quite a bit, like quite a few days, and then I've recorded a couple shows and I didn't really like them, so we're going to record a new one on the bike, which I think is the most fun. I was waiting for my long ride to actually do it, which is today. There we go. So cutting through some woods here. And bunny rabbits. Oh! So I only want to spend a very short time talking about what Unbound is, because if you don't know what it is, you've been living under a rock. It's the biggest bike race in North America right now. And it's absolutely bonkers with big name pros, and the field just gets more and more competitive each year. Some background is that I think Ted King was the first big name pro that came and did it like maybe 10 years ago. He'd just come off of retiring off the world tour and decided that he was going to try that for fun, and then won it, and then got all this press for doing it. And pros depend on exposure to make a living. And so I think some other pros were like, well, that's interesting. And then nice little four-way intersection here. They were like, well, that's interesting. And more and more and more. And then gravel took off even more so, was taking off at the same time. And like I said, I think a bunch of road cyclists, including triathletes, and so everybody was like, dude, these gravel roads are everywhere in North America, and they get you away from cars. And then race directors are like, man, we put on a heck of a race, a really good long race or event, group ride, because it's also an adventure, which people that aren't at the pointy end, they'll sign up for it for the adventure part. I'm kind of in between myself. I really like racing, but the adventure is pretty cool too. So however the race goes, it's still, an accomplishment. And you can tell if a race is an accomplishment by the distance, and then nobody really asks you what place they got. you got. It's like an afterthought. Oh, how'd you do? You're like, that is a challenge. Another four-way intersection here. It's dead quiet. I beat a lot of the traffic this morning. I live on the south side of town, near the city limits, so you would think it'd be pretty quiet, but they built a big shopping center out here over the past 10 years. Yeah, and I got a squeaky brake. Sorry about that. I realized the other day that whoever put the brake pads on this thing, put them on backwards. They're elongated on one side, and so the long end is facing down the rim into oncoming rim, and so it likes to vibrate, which is what that is. All right, green light. Over a curb, which is definitely hard to do on a road bike. Not recommended, but on a gravel bike, curbs and grass. What I love about these things, man, they're like you're a kid again. So now the races have gotten like out of control. The Unbound has, with just too many people, super crowded. I think they're gonna have to figure something out, because now we've got more complaints than ever that it's, there's a guy on a recumbent giving me the thumbs up. The 200 miler, it's so competitive that it's actually kind of like reverse throttled itself, that it's unraceable. You have to be like extremely lucky to win because of all the chaos and crashing. And I got some tips, because the way I ride gravel races, I managed to almost never get a flat. And then that's more bike tech stuff. Just never get a flat, and I have a really good time. I don't win, but I do okay. I definitely have a really good time. So back to Unbound. I was just riding no hands there, adjusting the mic, and almost crashed. I was like, oh, this is like Unbound. So the race, because it's so challenging, because the rocks are made out of flint in certain areas, and then the mud is a real challenge because it's peanut butter mud, which means it can stop your bike dead in its tracks. The race has gotten more and more competitive, and the gear has gotten more and more interesting. The equipment has gotten more and more interesting as far as overcoming some of these technical challenges, like how not to get a flat, which we got a wild one I got to tell you about. I thought I'd seen everything, man. It took me by surprise, big time. And car back. First off, the biggest obvious thing is, bigger tires for a lot of people. If you're not off the very front, then you have this problem in gravel racing where you can't see in front of you. It's a combination. There's all these people, the road's narrow, and also a good chance of dust or mud, and you can't see. So you end up with this just chaos of people on the right, behind, in the middle, and behind the front people having flats, especially in these flint hills. Also what they make arrowheads out of. So that doesn't help. And yeah, the gashes in tires is just unbelievable. More so at this race than almost any other race. And it's a combination of everybody trying to be at the front. And we're going to talk about it much later, about the panic. And that's what's causing a lot of these accidents and concussions and stuff. Yeah, so there was a bunch of bikes being released, cutting through some grass to get ahead of a runner. Now we're descending into Lit Creek Park, which has got heavy gravel at first. So the bigger tire you run, the softer it is, and then when you can think of it like a balloon is the best analogy I've heard. A soft balloon that's not inflated all the way, if you poke at it with a knife, flip down into a gravelly turn, drifting there a little bit, and really rough. So like example, what I'm riding right now, it's got a bunch of sharp rocks in it, but with really low PSI, and tubeless tires would allow you to run with really low PSI. Then you press on a balloon with a sharp object that's really inflated high PSI, it's more likely to pop because the balloon's fighting against it more. And the Factor Ostro gravel maybe. There's a new Factor bike. There's a new Specialized bike. A bunch of new bikes that came out, and they're almost all bigger tire frames. Hey, traffic's in. 3 groups of people all at the same time in one little spot. It's the worst gravel. And I've been experimenting with bigger tires. When my other bike was in the shop, and the most I could fit in it was a 50 millimeter front, and a 42 rear. It was okay, because I'm kind of careful how I ride. And I have a suspension stem on the top, a redshift, and pea gravel. into harsh gravel. And suspension, which there was a bunch of suspension forks, which we'll talk about. Oh, I should have taken that other path right there. Unclip. Yeah. The suspension acts kind of like that, the softer balloon, right? So you'll reduce your chances of flats with suspension as well. Like if you ride a hardtail mountain bike and then go to a full suspension mountain bike, you'll notice that you don't get as many flats, or hardly ever, in the rear now like you used to before, because it's not as harsh hitting sharp stuff on the back. So when my bike was in the shop for a while, because I needed a new derailleur because I exploded it during the East Texas 400, I pulled out my old Nishiki, which is a 90s gravel bike. I guess the closest thing is the Specialized Rock Combo, which is, it's basically road bike geometry, but mountain bike spacing, 90s mountain bike spacing. And in the rear, I've got a 47 in it right now, a Vittoria Torino Drive maybe, but it'll fit a 50. And the front, because I got a suspension fork on it, will fit. I got a 2.4 in the front right now, which I admit it's a little bit overkill. Probably don't need that. But man, when we hit the gravel, it is faster, for sure. And where I live, most of the races are 50-50. We got a lot of gravel roads, but you got to get on pavement to connect them, which is, that's cool as well. So what I notice is I ride with my son, Kai, and he's awesome, as any dad would say. Sand, unclip for stability in case I need to dab. And yeah, like in the sand and stuff, the bike just floats over it. Oh, but riding next to Kai, we'll be on pavement and he'll outpace me. But then when it gets to be gravel, I'll keep up with him or be faster because I can ride in a more straight line. I don't have to go pick my way around things, and the bike doesn't get upset over bumps with the big front tire and the suspension fork. So yeah, a bunch of bikes were released with bigger tires, and Unbound is probably 95% gravel, I guess. Gravel Locos is the same way. I went into it thinking it would be like 50-50. Passing a lady walking her dog. And hello. Turns out it wasn't. I mean, with a gravel race, they're going to try to find as much gravel as they can, you know? It's not your local training route. It's convenient to you. And then the bigger tires make you faster on the gravel, and you just need clearance for it in these bikes. Okay, we're off the gravel for a little bit, and coming up on a water. I'm going to grab a little bit of water because it's going to be a while, and I want to save my ice water. Oh, squeak. Just top off as well. It really does help. Just a little bit. This bike only has 2 bottle cages on it, so I got to do what I can. And what frustrates me is there's this misconception that you can't fit bigger rear tires in. This bike that I'm on right now was probably made in the 90s. I don't know what year it is. And it holds a 50 in the rear and a triple chainring on, when it was new, which they don't do anymore for mountain biking. And so it's definitely possible. And the thing handles amazing on gravel because it's got road bike geometry. And then you ask, how do they do that? Well, you put a mountain bike bottom bracket in, which is wider, so it allows for the wider tire in the rear. But for some reason, they keep wanting to make these gravel bikes like road bikes with this narrow bottom bracket like a road bike, and then it only allows this tiny bit of clearance. And then you can't fit a double chain ring if you want high-end speed, and then you can't fit bigger tires. And then if it's muddy, you actually don't want bigger tires. You want to go like normal size tires or smaller, and then you've got clearance for the mud in the frame. So the bike manufacturers are kind of figuring this out. And what's really funny is it's been figured out before, a long time ago. This bike is fantastic. And so I'm considering putting a double chainring on this bike, and then maybe 11 speed in the rear and just keeping it mechanical for simplicity's sake. And it's a single speed right now, just for fun. So yeah, we're gonna do 61 miles single speed, 50-50 gravel and road. A little bit of single track too. And this bike's not even steel, it's aluminum. So it's plenty light. Wait, enough about this bike. Let's talk about the bike of the winner of the 200, which is the most competitive one. Cameron Johnson or Cameron Jones, I can't remember. And I don't have my notes on me in front of me right this second. But he did a breakaway right off the front, and then you don't need quite as big tires because you can see where you're going. So I think he rode a 50 front and 45 rear on a Scott Addict gravel. I don't think he had suspension. But again, you can see a whole lot better when you're in the front. And I got to climb this hill into the wind on a single speed. I kind of have fun reading off the numbers because they're so ridiculous. Hey, there's some cows. I'll get down to like 35 RPM and 350 watts. Oh, God. Hey, there's a cyclist in front of me. I've left the city limits. I'm on the countryside. And I'm in ranch land. A lot of cattle. A lot of open space. It's really nice. The only problem is it's prairie, so you don't get a lot of tree cover like you would in the real forest. And also I threw aero bars on this bike, and it's really amazing like how much faster you go. You can tell who came over to gravel from road. But they're like, it's against the spirit of gravel. No, if you knew the spirit of gravel, aero bars have been used in gravel for a long, long time. They're called comfort bars because it takes the weight off your hands, and your hands are usually pretty beat up. It really helps. And then in gravel, you end up solo a lot of times, which we're going to talk about. Chase Ward, friend of the show. He's been on the podcast. Got a nice video of him and Drew Dillman and Hannah Shell all interviewed, and Justin McQuarrie all in the race. It's pretty cool. If you go to YouTube and see all these videos, Emily Newsome, who crashed out with a concussion. So I'm running a 48 chainring on the front of this thing and 18 rear. If you want to simulate that yourself, you can do the math. You can divide the front chainring size by the rear cog size, and that's, you can throw a little bit of the rear wheel tire in there as another factor. But just in general, if you're riding a road bike or a gravel bike, that's a quick way to use any gearing and know how hard it'll be. I believe if you divide 48 by 18 is 2.66666. It ends up being fantastic around the rolling prairie. Oh, there's two cyclists. One I'm catching and one coming at me. This road I'm on used to be, I wish it still was, but I remember when they paved it and I was riding my Trek Speed Concept with 25s on it. I was like, oh, I could finally ride this. So everything's about perspective, your moment of zen. in your current situation. Things are neither good nor bad. Depends on you and the situation you're in. And your situation may change. So don't get too attached to it. So Cam Jones and or Johnson was riding a 52 or 53 36 double front chainring. I mean, that gearing size is massive, but when the race is becoming more and more like a road race and you want to break off the front, you have to have monster gearing top end to get away from everybody. And I think this year most people that won were on double chain rings, which is, I think, as gravel bikes get faster and the courses are have higher top end and low end speeds, the double chain ring provides this massive range. And the derailleur acts as a little bit of a chain catcher. We're back on gravel. I think we're on Sulphur Springs Road. And I think a lot of stuff on this bike was pretty normal. Everybody's got CO2 cartridges and plugs strapped everywhere to help with the flats, which leads us to another cool thing that people noticed after the race is Keegan Swenson had a wheel with 2 valve stems on it. One on each side. They're like opposite of each other, not next to each other. I guess to balance the wheel. And they revealed after the race that he and his buddy, I guess his name's Tobin, that's like his wingman, decided before the race, like the week before or something, to drill an extra hole in the rim so they could put a valve stem through, and then they put a uninflated TPU inner tube in, already in the wheel. So I'm guessing it would hug the rim a little bit on the inside. 31 RPM, 284 watts. And I'm doing a U-turn here. I thought these 2 sticks were snakes. I've seen so many snakes lately. Now every stick is a snake. Sometimes they are right now. And their copperheads are the bad ones. So you go over to my Instagram, Zen Triathlon on Instagram, and check out the videos and pictures of the latest snakes that I found. And of this bike, you want to see the bike I'm on, it's blue frame. It's a Nishiki, which used to be a really big brand. Downhill gravel. In the aero bars, I go even faster. And the idea is you will definitely get dropped and lose the race if you have to put an inner tube in. But if the inner tube's already in, you can stop and inflate it with the CO2 almost, or I guess the same as plugging a tire. And turned out they actually almost used it. He had a low front tire, and he also crashed. And they decided to swap wheels instead. That was even faster, and then he's got especially a good wheel. And I was thinking a lot about this inner tube thing. A friend at the pool was asking me, dude, you totally... I go, I saw that. That's really cool. He was like, did you see that? I'm like, yeah, I did. That was pretty freaking cool. It's a good idea. I can't believe I've never thought of that before, because I'm always thinking of crazy stuff that's questionable. And you hear the birds? We're on another out and back now. This route I'm on has a lot of out and backs because we live on I really wouldn't call it a ridge line, but it's like a hill line that's between 2 pretty decent sized rivers. And so you end up doing a lot of roads that go to the river, but then they have to turn around because you can't build a bridge over everything. 50 RPM, 300 watts, 48 RPM, 47. 46. The only downside of that solution is you've already flatted once. The chance of you flatting again, getting a puncture in that TPU inner tube, and then that TPU inner tube is shot. That chance is really high. And a lot of people say, I put a tube in, and then a mile later, flat. Hey, cows, how y'all doing? And so what we've been doing forever in triathlon, and maybe regular road cycling, is you put sealant in the inner tube. And then when the inner tube gets punctured, it's just like having sealant in your tire if you're running tubeless. And it does a decent job, of sealing the puncture. And there's this misconception with TPU inner tubes that they don't flat. They flat just as much, maybe 10% less than the black butyl inner tubes. And sure, they're tougher, but man, if it's gone all the way through your tire, it's going to go through a tiny little piece of plastic, or a tiny thin piece of rubber. So you put sealant in your inner tube. So if you're running sealant in your inner tube, that's another 2 ounces of sealant inside that. So now you're starting to add, TPU inner tubes are really lightweight. There's almost nothing to it, but once you put sealant in there, now you're starting to add a little bit of weight. And so is it worth it? I think in their case it is, because Keegan has a crazy high FTP, which is your power that you can do. And so he can ride, the biggest problem for him is having a flat or crashing, not keeping up. So I think they considered, it's Keegan, so let's go ahead and do it. His tires weighing 2 ounces more is not really a problem. But I don't know if they put sealant in the inner tube or not. I would. My spare tube that I'm carrying right now has sealant in it. So when I put it in, I can keep doing my training ride and not try to pick my way around everything and not get another flat, and kind of ruins my ride. Okay, we're about to drop down on gravel to the Navasota River. There's a sign I just passed that said water over road. It rained here so much that the road has been flooded down here for weeks now, 3 weeks, off and on. Some days it's worse than others. And I think what they're doing is releasing water upstream out of lakes and dams. Let's see how far we can get down. Wow, it's way high again. Okay, let's get a video, and y'all listen to the podcast. You can see the bike. You can tell it's really wild down in here. Hey everybody, we are down at the Navasota River, and it is flooded again. I think they're releasing water upstream out of rivers and dams and lakes, and this is what we get. It's only another quarter mile to the riverbank. I'm not riding through that because it's moving too, pretty good. And we're on the Nishiki single speed. That's a chain tensioner, that red thing. 48 front, 18 rear, loaded up with water bottles and a gear container and flat bar and aero bars and a mountain bike front tire and a 47 rear with room to spare, and the rear radar and a bento box and power meter pedals, the Asioma power meter pedals, which are just incredible, and a suspension fork, and I was about to say mechanical shifting, which it usually has, but there is no shifting, but rim brakes. Check that out. And they're awesome. This bike's fantastic. And it's an aluminum frame. It looks like maybe it's a steel frame, but it's not. It's aluminum, so it's nice and light. And yeah, we're going to go back. We got a ride to do. Hopefully it doesn't rain. All right, it's nice and pretty. Check y'all in a bit. There we go. Y'all got to hear a Instagram video being made. Let's see where we are on our fuel. 45 minutes in. Have I drank 45 minutes of fuel? I use colored. I add food coloring or use Gatorade powder because it's colored to my table sugar fuel. And then use clear bottles for my fuel bottles for sure. I'm using a Hummingbird fuel white bottle, extra water bottle right now. And we got to start uphill and single speed. Single speed's really hard at first, and then you figure out how to do it. I'm almost as fast as geared, and the challenge is really fun because you're doing something special. And then the built-in coasting, because you can only pedal so fast before there's no more gears, actually gives you more brakes. And if it's a longer, harder ride, it seems like those brakes actually end up paying off instead of wearing yourself out. And then when you're climbing, you just be patient. Let's say single speed is actually 3 gears. There's the regular pedaling and walking if it's too steep. And then there's this funny thing where you pedal really fast, coast. Pedal really fast, coast. When you're getting close to topping out. Anyway, climbing up out of this rear bottom. Yeah, so I'll think of more tech stuff. Chase Wark had sawed off the bottom half of his road bars because he said, I'm not using them. And the spirit of gravel could be many things, but one of them is you can do whatever with your bike that you want. And he rides with a disc rear wheel and an aero helmet, like a time trial helmet, and it pays off. He's a whole lot faster that way. Now let's see, what other... I want to talk about his race tactics. It did not work, but I'll do that in a minute. Let me see if there's any other gear. Everybody always likes to talk about the gear. Now, the guy that won the 200 was on a suspension fork. What kind of bike was he riding? I think he was riding the Factor. And I think he was riding bigger tires, like a mountain bike front tire at least. Heather Jackson might have been on full or a front suspension. Maybe a mountain bike with drop bars. So yeah, let's go ahead and start covering the race results. Oh God, here's a Pitbull that likes to chase me, and I'm going uphill at single speed. That's gonna freaking kill me. Drink every time I say single speed. This is not a single speed podcast. It just happens to be what I'm riding right now. Got a water bottle so I can spray them. It's a Pitbull, a big one. Yeah, okay. I sprayed them. A lot of times all you got to do to get ahead of a dog is throw them off a little bit and then they kind of stutter step. They're like, what? And then they got to regain momentum and it's too much. And you've got them. So on Friday before the race, I knew that Lachlan Morton, who won the 200 last year, who's just the most coolest guy ever, he just finished riding the perimeter of Australia and broke the record on that. Maybe it was last summer or the summer before, he broke the record on the Great Divide, which you ride from Canada to Mexico on the Continental Divide. Broke that record, but it's unofficial because he had a camera crew. And the camera crew can kind of provide, even if they don't help you at all, they provide like emotional support. And also, because there's a crew with you, you'll take risks when a lot of times you wouldn't, because you know that if you are about to die, then you can hop in this car. And they think it makes a difference. So we'll see. I think as social media just has swallowed up everything, and pros kind of need to have social media to make a career now. Not having a videographer with you is to document it is kind of just like it's like sailing across the Atlantic on a steamboat, you know. Like, okay, it's like an old, outdated technology that's just not of any use to anybody right now. And Lael Wilcox, I knew was going to be in the race, but I was like, I had this kind of question mark in the back of my mind. I was like, dude, just finished biking around the world and breaking the record on that. And for that, you can have people with you, and you kind of, some people do it. I think they do an asterisk. You know, there's like different versions of biking around the world, and hers was supported, but still, you know, absolutely nuts. Well, I don't think it was like supported. I think she got all of her food and water maybe from gas stations and such, but on her own. But there was friends and kind of security with her to make sure she. But anyway, Specialized brought out a new bike, and then at a different race, Trek had a new gravel bike that had the same suspension in it as the Super Caliber, the Trek Super Caliber mountain bike, where the suspension, the rear suspension is built kind of into the top tube, and the rear chain stays flex into the top tube. So we'll probably see that coming. So it was Friday afternoon, and I saw an Instagram post, and I was at work. I was on a work break, and I was like, "Oh, hey, Lil Wilcox, what you got to say?" And she's like, "I'm riding the XL, which is 360 miles, the Unbound XL, and you can follow me on the tracker site, which is something they do for these big races. I had that for the 400. Got this like little GPS tracker. I think it looks like it's about the size of a pager. And you just stow it somewhere on your bike. And then people can dot watch. You can see the dots moving on a big map. And then the race course is on the map. And you can see people going along the race course. And then it's got some smarts built into it. And it'll tell you how far everybody is individually along the race course. And their average miles per hour. And you can click on their name, see who's out there. Okay, we've now turned on the Lone Star Road. It's a gravel road. It's a mile each way, out and back. We reorganized the garage, cleaned it out, got a bunch of crap out. Now I can actually like get around in the garage. It's so nice to go out there, and all my stuff's lined up. Got it ready the night before, most of my stuff, and then I went to go get my fuel bottles, and it turned out, because they were on the kitchen counter, they weren't full all the way, because I still like to shake them up in the morning, make sure all the sugar's really dissolved. And Emily had thrown them out, well, poured them out, and put them in the washer, the dishwasher, which is our comically ridiculous life story is. I'm a messy person, and she's a super clean person. And messy people are messy, but they know where everything is. And clean people put all that stuff away, and you put two of them together. The clean person puts away the messy person's stuff, and the messy person was like, "Where's my stuff? Where'd you put that?" But making homemade fuel for cheap. It's probably like $1.50 worth of fuel, $2, even though it's a 4-hour ride. I was like, "Oh, it's no big deal." We'll see. I might go through a gas station here in a little bit. Y'all get to hear all that audio going inside and adding water. So yeah, I took that hyperlink for the live tracking map. Like, oh, it's Friday. The race is on Saturday. I'll store that like a notepad somewhere, save it for later. And then about 10 minutes later, I was like, wait a minute. A lot of times they start the big portion of these off-road races or road races. We got to do a U-turn turn around here. The road dead ends at somebody's ranch. I pick it up. Ugh. And oh, sun's starting to come out. It's going to get hot. Let's do a field check. All right, halfway through. I'm at 1 hour, almost 58 minutes. I chop out a lot of this audio so that it's more listenable. Insta360 camera, which I've got one. It's really cool because what you do is you film everything and then you go back later and edit out what you don't want. Because it shoots 360 degrees, it captures everything, so you don't have to point the camera at anything. It's already recording everywhere. It uses like 2 back-to-back fisheye lenses, but then uses software to make it not fisheye-y. And it's called shoot first, point later, is the concept. I was listening to DC Rainmaker talking about the new Garmin Varia headlight and camera combo. So it's like kind of like a dash cam. So it's filming like all the time, and then if you want something, you can say, hey, save that. Save the last minute or whatever, I guess. And then one way to save battery with this stuff they figured out is you don't do image stabilization on the fly, because that's the camera doing all that processing is heats up battery. So you just record and also record the data coming off the accelerometer, and then later on the computer or on your phone, if that's where you're editing the imagery, it processes it then, and you've got plenty of battery power, and then it doesn't drain your battery, then the camera lasts longer. It's pretty cool. I was like, oh, let's go see let's see if the race has started on this live tracker. And turned it on, or went to the website, and they'd already started. They were 15 miles, 20 miles in. I was like, oh, sweet. And so I kind of had it up. It was kind of had it out of the corner of my eye on my phone. So I was like, oh, who's in the race? And I'd read an article earlier in the week. Well, I saw the headline for it, but I didn't really read it. Oh, we got so much time. And they said there's a lot of, more than before, big name pros in the XL and not the 200. Isn't that interesting? And after looking at this year's race, I'm like, yeah, I can see what's going on. People are fed up with you could be one of the best cyclists in the world, and the race is so congested and difficult, and everybody is trying to be in this race and win it. So then you get cramming and panic and crashes and all kinds of stuff. So you could they don't have tons of money, and they're spending a ton of money and time, which time is money. Okay, we're off of Lone Star, back onto Bird. Now, what road are we on? Peach Creek Road. We're on Peach Creek Road, headed towards Highway 6. My legs are still a little blown out. I was so dehydrated last weekend. We're at 84 degrees. So I was like, oh, let's scroll down this list and see who's in this race. So Lachlan Morton, Leo Wilcox, so the two big heavy hitters. And scroll down some more, and I was like, oh, Heather Jackson. And I think I was suspicious that she might ride the race, but I wasn't certain. I was like, oh, this is going to be freaking awesome. Heather Jackson is former top pro Ironman. She's never won the World Championships, but she is just incredible. And in the XL, they allow the pros, I don't even know if they have a pro field, it's just everybody, to ride aero bars. And what happened was, a few years back, when it started getting more competitive. Certain pros that don't know how to ride in aero bars without crashing were like, I want to ban aero bars. And so they ended up banning aero bars in all Lifetime, which is the series of events for the pros, which I think is ridiculous, because without aero bars, you cause this panic, which actually I talk about later in the show. If you get dropped off the back, we're going to do a strong heavy. If you get dropped off the back, you're toast. You've got to ride it like it's a road race. And then that's what everybody's mad about, is this thing's turning into a road race. And so you have people taking really wild risks to not get dropped off the back because they don't have aero bars to catch back up with. And the whole thing where people riding aero bars in the pack, people don't ride aero bars in the pack. You ride them when you're in the front. And if you've been dropped, you ride aero bars. And honestly, it's one of the things that makes gravel biking so cool, is if you get dropped and you're solo, you've got aero bars, and you just ride. And you got a really good chance of catching everybody. Like if you stop for a flat tire, you gotta plug a tire, or like you're fiddling with bottles, it's cool. And then also, if a section gets dangerous, you can kind of fall off the back a little bit and negotiate it. Or if you get hung up, negotiating around other people that have crashed, then you can catch back up. So you could implement a rule, just like they've implemented this new rule where in the 200, you can't draft off of somebody else that's like a different category, so a different gender. If you're pro and they're amateur, or you're amateur and they're pro, same gender, but whatever, can't draft. It's because they have this problem with pro women, drafting off of the fastest age group men. They're about equal in speed. And then sometimes you have them teaming up, like a husband and wife situation. And it's like, it's not fair to other people that can't do that. You come all the way from some place far away, like Florida, only one of you could come. You can't arrange to have somebody for you to draft off the entire race. So it's not really a women's race anymore, You're racing against a woman and also her husband that's pulling. So anyway, the women's race, the XL race, 360 miles. Start Friday afternoon. Everybody can ride aero bars, which is nice. But the longer the race is, the more you want to have comfort bars / aero bars to save your hands from the abuse. All right, we're about to go under Highway 6. Just a bit of a freeway. Might be able to hear the birds. And then we got a hill here for a while, which will cut down on the wind noise, but I'm going to have to be really patient climbing here. The radar's picking up people off the freeway behind me. But we're going under and beyond. So this road, there's a 2x4 in the middle of the road. That's nice. The road I'm on has no shoulder, and it's 60 miles per hour. But it's such a wonderful road besides that. It's hilly and twisty. Yeah, so in Heather Jackson's case, Leo Wilcox does epic long stuff, and most of the time in aero bars, Spirit of Gravel, and holds all kinds of records. I think she held the record for the 360, the XL, just until last weekend. But Heather Jackson took it, giving away the story here. The cyclist just went the other way on a really old, like an 80s road bike. It was cool. And the thing is, a pro Ironman has spent not as much time probably as Leo Wilcox in the aero bars, but that time on the bike has been nothing but the aero bars. Because in Ironman, you don't ever want to come out of the aero bars. unless it's a crisis. So like you live in them and slammed and aero as hell, and it's bike combat because drafting is illegal in pro Ironman, well Ironman anyway, and they got course judges everywhere, and they're watching the pros more than anybody else, and you got to have awesome bike handling skills. So Lael Wilcox is more of like a laid back, because most of everything she does is just kind of chill and relax. It's so long that everybody's so spread out. She doesn't have to have this razor's edge of ability while in the aero position, and Heather Jackson does. So I was kind of like, I really wanted them to be together until the very end, and then one of them to out sprint the other at the very end, you know. And I was like, dude, 50-50 chance each one. But I was like, you know, Heather Jackson's probably like 52, 55, yeah, like 55% chance of winning against Lael Wilcox at like 45, just because this is a competitive race. Now, it's not like the 200, but it's still, you know, there's a lot on the line. And then that race turned out that Heather Jackson slowly pulled away, and she also had this massive headlamp or bike light that looked like something you would search for the survivors of the Titanic with. The thing was freaking crazy big. And I think she had suspension and bigger tires, let's say. And then after the race was over, Lael Wilcox ended up with a great time, but got fourth. Heather Jackson won and broke the record. Hey, you know, they're down in the 20-hour range, maybe 19, something like that. There's a red-tailed hawk. Scree! This headwind sucks, but it also feels nice. I'll be wishing for a breeze later when I'm riding back into town with a tailwind and I'm just cooking in the heat. In a post-race interview, she said she just really wasn't, Lael just really wasn't into it as much. I mean, she loved it, the race, but you know, you're coming off of riding around the world. You can only do so much epic stuff in a period of time. It's kind of like overtraining, you know? You're like, you can tell, like, I can tell for sure. I'm done running for a while. I don't want to run. And then what happens is if you take a break for a little bit, you'll start to notice, it's like, man, I want to go run. And that's when you start up again. And if you don't have that edge, like, I want to race, then in a really competitive race, you don't have much of a chance. Because somebody else there, they don't have to be as good as you, but they're going to be like, they're going to want to win so bad, and they're fresh and ready to fight, but they'll take all those extra little steps it takes to win that you kind of like slack off on a little bit. You're like, oh, maybe this doesn't matter. Turns out it does. I'm going to ride a little bit slower going into the gas station, so I'm just like completely dripping in sweat. Or I could get water out of the back of the post office faucet. I really enjoy the sounds of the gas station. We'll decide when we get it in sight. Got this other little hill right here, and then we can coast it in. Oh, you know what I'll do while we wait for me to cool down? I'll post the video that I shot. It's a nice use of my time. So, an interesting fact about the women's XL is I saw an article where they got in at the very end, non-judgmentally, but just as like facts of the race, you know, like how muddy it was. Oh, it turned out to not be very muddy, which kind of surprised everybody because it had rained earlier in the week a lot. That through the night, Heather Jackson rode with a male companion of some sort. Now, they did say she drafted off of him, and maybe she didn't, but also it's not against the rules. And I think what Sofia Gomez did Biafone, was on purpose. She drafted off of men and pointed it out to the race directors all last year and maybe the year before. And then would go up to the women that she beat and she would say, I beat you because I was drafting off of guys. You probably would have won. And like turning and staring at the camera at possibly the race directors. Like, you've got to change this rule. And so this year, yeah, they changed the rule. And Sophia got third. And did not win. But she's won enough. I think she's happy where she's at. Hey, doggy. That's a nice old farmhouse right there. That dog's like, my legs are too short for my body. Okay, we're riding it easy into the gas station. It's overcast off and on, which is nice. I gotta turn off the bike computer. So. All the cyclists are all gone. But all the country ranchers are here. They, in the countryside, the small gas stations usually serve some kind of food. In Texas, a lot of them serve breakfast tacos. So it'd be like eggs and salsa on a tortilla, if that's what you want. And they serve as like little restaurants. But they only have like 1 or 2 tables. And you get some breakfast tacos or whatever. And then you catch up with your other rancher buddies. And they're usually a lot older and retirement age and just kind of chilling. It's really kind of cool. It's definitely a thing in Texas. Okay. We don't want this music to be on the show and the show to get clipped, so we're going to walk away from that. But anyway, unfortunately, I have to walk right past them to get to the bathroom to go get more water. Let's start drinking some water out of the Camelback here, some of the ice water. Oh wow, that's nice. That's really nice. So with the ice water situation in the Camelback, it's kind of funny. If you put in too much ice, then somewhere along the ride, you open up the Camelback and pour regular water in because you can't drink from an ice block. It doesn't melt fast enough if all that's left is ice. So then you add water to it and it melts the ice and chills the water that you just added to it, and it helps out a lot. So let's post this video. Let's go to Instagram and let's do next. And let's put a thing at the bottom. Let's say gravel riding and recording Unbound review. There we go. And then I'll put hashtag gravel. 4-hour ride. Let's do that. No hashtag. 4-hour ride. Talking about hashtag Unbound. We get out this guy's way. And let's say gear. Unbound gear, comma, results, comma, and safety issues. Should be out soon. Say okay, and let's hit share. And let's see. Let's do a little bit more water. The ice water was nice. If you're drinking cold water out of a Camelback, when you're done taking your sips, you want to blow the water back into the Camelback, or else the water, your next sip will be mostly from the hose, and the water in the hose is not cold. So you've just wasted half of the reason that, or half of the water that should be cold. Anyway, we got a lot of dump trucks today. What was I talking about? Oh, drafting off of the other gender, so pro women drafting off of any just random guy is not against the rules. I'm hanging out by the dump. It's not against the rules in the XL, but I thought it was funny that the article mentioned it at the very end. But I think like it was good that they mentioned it, because then They can start working on, maybe getting rid of that in this race. It's hard to enforce, but I think it is enforceable. People are pretty honest, and they'll report on each other that they saw that, or at least yell at each other, cut that crap out. And on trackers, you can see two people together with the GPS, sorta. It makes it look suspicious for sure. And then let's say you got two people with lights. I've ridden with Kai at night, and we had our lights are kind of questionable, and it makes all the difference in the world for when y'all team up on the lights. It's almost double the lights and makes things better. It helps a lot. And then let's go over to the men's race. There's something else about the women's race. I'll remember it in a minute. But the men's race, Lachlan Morton was winning at the beginning, which was expected. And then going down the men's list, Lawrence Tindam, who got 9th in the Tour de France and has been doing gravel for the past 9 years or something, maybe longer, was in the race as well. And he's awesome as well. And it's like, oh crap, dude, this is going to be, Lachlan just rode around the world and could be kind of pooped. No, he rode around Australia and could be kind of pooped. And turns out, he did an interview after the race where he said he was fighting depression. And he kind of gets like that. That's the whole reason he does. He quit World Tour racing and started doing this random weird stuff just to have more freedom and not be so stressed. He's so chill and relaxed, you would think he would handle stress just fine, but it's actually kind of the opposite. People that are chill and relaxed have found a way to get away from stress because they don't like it. I'm like that, personally, and I'm not as cool as Lachlan, though. And he said after the race that leading up to the race, he was fighting depression. And again, dude, this is just from being overworked. Oh, we're recording, so somebody's got to break out a weed eater. Anytime you do a podcast, you got to, if there's a weed eater within a square mile, somebody's going to turn it on. That and a leaf blower. So let's get off the mic here. I'll save this file and then pick up with another one. It's a good way to break up the audio. So if I corrupt a file, I don't corrupt everything. All right. Let's turn the recorder back on. We're in the bathroom. I'm not going to use the restroom, but we're going to record in here. One upside of riding, that bike I'm riding is 30 years old. But I learned this years ago. I had a really, really expensive BMC time trial bike, or triathlon bike. It was the exact same bike that they were riding in the Tour de France. I was on the team that was sponsored. And so it was like zip wheels, which I've still got, and Dura Ace. Back then that bike was worth like $8,000 in 2006. And you're just really paranoid about leaving it outside while going into a gas station. And there you go, there's the water. So as a training bike, I bought an old steel Specialized Alley. It was really great, but it was old, so it was cheap. I bought it for like $400. And then I realized I could just leave this thing out and just use it as my training bike. And it ended up being fantastic because I never really worried about anybody stealing it. So I didn't have to ruin my gas station stops by being all on patrol. We're going to walk past the ranchers here. I just saw a drink called Pickleback. How's it going, man? Good, how are you? You feel like me, yeah?
Yes.
How far are you riding today?
I'm doing 3 hours, so
yeah.
Probably
are you on a road bike 50? Or gravel?
Yeah.
You going down 159 that way?
No, we just came up this way and are about to go around and head back towards town.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, if you go a mile down this road, which I don't like doing, but it picks up Old Highway 6, which is gravel.
Okay.
And then Old Highway 6 is gravel for miles and miles and miles.
Is it? And
then White's Creek is gravel. And it meets up with 159 down there.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
I have a hard time finding gravel out here.
Yeah.
I've got like small stretches, but nothing I've really connected.
when you're done riding, I'm going to post my ride later today. Look for Brett Blankner.
Brett?
Yeah, so like blank, like
Yeah.
point blank or something. And then Brett Blankner, and look at my route today.
Okay.
And it's about, it might be 50% gravel.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's 60 miles.
Okay. That's solid, right?
Yeah, cool. All right.
Awesome.
What's your name?
Lee.
Lee?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look for you, dude. Yeah. On the Stravas. Or it didn't happen. There, I just did my job recruiting. That was a couple roadies. I don't see their bikes though. They must be on the other side of the gas station. Anyway, there's Boston playing earlier, and I saw this thing where the Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit is actually a rip-off of a Boston song. That Kurt Cobain knew it. It was a joke. And I think like Dave Grohl figured it out. He's like, dude, we're playing More Than a Feeling, or whatever the song is. Oh, but something happened that happens to a lot. Lael Wilcox said it happened to her partway through the ride, that you're feeling depressed and everything, and then you have this moment where you're like, dude, this is the freaking best, what I'm doing, right? This is so much fun. Some more roadies. Oh, traffic in the gas station. We're gonna go past the guy with a weed here. Across the highway, back on the gravel. To a busted up old gravel parking lot. Let's start the bike computer. That was nice. Oh, did my video upload? Let's ride down a highway with no shoulder. I guess it uploaded. We'll check in a second. I got a car coming. Oh. Hey, Cardinals. Galloway. Yeah. Oh, thought I saw a snake. It was not a snake. Oh, what's the name of this road? Yeah. So I'm riding through the township of Milliken. And Milliken is a grid of gravel. It used to be 10,000 people during the Civil War. And then almost a ghost town. There's like maybe 50 people that live here now. But it was the end of the railroad line in 1962 or 63 or something. And then, you know, they're constantly lengthening the railroad line. And once you're not important, because you're not the end of it, they just go right on by you, like the movie Cars. And so the town just faded. But the grid for 10,000 people is still here. Oh, hi. There's a couple sections, short sections of asphalt, but it's all busted up. If you ever do a gravel crit, this town would be incredible if they would tolerate it. There's a house, I'll tell you when we pass it. I think a motorcycle gang likes to live there. You don't want to piss off the Sons of Anarchy. The way I would handle that is I'd go up to them first and say, hey, you guys are freaking cool. Could you do us a favor and like, we'll pay you or donate to something, whatever you want. Because I know we're not motorcyclists, but I used to ride motorcycles. I've had 4 motorcycles. I've had street bikes, like sport bikes, and a cruiser. I guess I've had 3 motorcycles. 2 sport bikes and a cruiser. Be like, hey, do y'all want to ride, like, not escort, but kind of like help us put on this little bike race? The way you get people to like not hate you is you recruit them for your cause before you do it. And then they got some ownership in it. Instead of surprising them with it one day, they're actually part of it. And then they'll help you out. It's like your family now. Anyway, social tricks. So yeah, interview. Oh well, Lachlan faded the very last part of the XL, and this guy named Rob Britton passed. I think Lawrence Tindam got like 4th or 5th or 6th. I don't know whatever he got. Maybe 3rd. But you know, it is pretty interesting. There is a big difference between world tour riding and riding an epic long thing. In that, with European road racing, you have support just constantly. They come to you while you're on the bike and hand you up stuff. And while they're the best riders by far, the most powerful, they're like Formula One race car guys. And, you know, their races can be world tour day after day after day, but stage racing is different. And so the guys that are great at that don't necessarily have to be the best, may not be the best at just sustained, brutal mental fortitude where you got to take care of yourself out there. That reminds me, the XL is self-supported. The 200 isn't much better with only 2 aid stations, which is just absolutely insane for a race that distance. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the show. But let's see if they fix this little thing back here. Riding over some branches. There's this camera that talks to you when you ride past it at the end of this road. You turn, back down again. It's been out for about a month. It usually yells at you like, "This is a private road. From here on out, you've got mail. You're going to Hawaii." Ugh, gotta climb out of this thing. My stomach hurts a little bit today. It's so hot that you gotta be really careful and just slow down. I've learned. You know, all it'll do is take you an extra 10 minutes to go a little bit slower. But then you're much more likely to be able to ride again sooner, tomorrow or a couple days later, because you're just not wrecked. We got mowing this pasture. Howdy. Good. The key to getting along with the people out in the countryside is just act like you belong. Everything's chill, everything's relaxed, don't be in a hurry. That's the only way you can survive out here, because you can't be in a hurry. Everything's like a nice, calm, slow pace, but it keeps you from making mistakes. The further you get away from civilization, mistakes can be bad. So you just be chill. I really like it. I grew up in bigger cities, in the suburbs, but in bigger cities like Houston, San Diego, and Chicago, and Birmingham, Nashville, Cincinnati, mostly. And I started riding out in the countryside when I was like very much an adult, you know. So all my childhood is being raised with this kind of like lock your doors, you know, can't completely 100% trust other people, and keep a little bit to yourself. You know, it's mostly in the South. Just kind of like, okay. And then I guess when I was like 28, no, 25, 24, I don't know. It doesn't really matter, does it? But anyway, in my 20s, I started riding out in the countryside because I moved away from the beach and couldn't surf anymore. as much. I was still doing it some, but it's just such a long drive. But then I discovered this countryside riding, and oh my god, dude, it's so rad. There's so much fewer cars, and the people are really chill. I feel like one altercation a year with somebody that's just misinformed or having a bad day. Had a guy pull a gun on us because one of us had a tire blowout that sounded like a gunshot. And he came out and thought we were shooting at his dog. And we're like, no, nobody here's got a gun, sir. It's chill. And if you're a cyclist out in the countryside, you know, a lot of countryside cyclists, we look just like everybody, all the other cyclists, the roadies and stuff, but a lot of us aren't, you know, like city folk that are, that can't handle ourselves out in the country. It's 99% just how you talk and how you hold yourself, and a sense of casual confidence. Just kind of like, hey, how's it going? Yeah. I got people pull up next to me and go, what are you doing out here? I'm like, oh, I'm just riding around. I go, you live around here? I go, oh yeah, I live on the edge of town. I ride out here all the time. How you doing? You have to start asking how they're doing. And then, it's just like in the United States, most cyclists also drive cars. So the whole thing about they need to pay road tax. Dude, we are paying road tax. We have cars just like you. They need to pull a gun on you. And it's like, well, you're not the only one. Almost every cyclist I know in my town, it's a hardcore cyclist, also has a gun or 2 or 10 and drives a truck. I don't know why I got off on a tangent. It's just kind of interesting. Nice turn. A gravel 90-degree turn, like Unbound. And a pothole, bam, bam, bam. And that's where the pros go right into the bushes. They're following too close. But I gotta follow close, or else I'll get dropped. Like, well, that's what aero bars, stopping the aero bars, banning the aero bars is done for you guys. If you have aero bars, you can catch back up, no problem. So, yeah, okay, everybody in the XL is riding aero bars. Lachlan Morton got passed towards the end. He said that he's kind of like ran out of energy, so it's probably a carb thing. Oh, but a crazy thing is here's the motorcycle gang out. We got 5 Harleys out front. I would say that qualifies. And I'm riding through a fertilizer factory. I don't know if I call it a parking lot. It's just a wide concrete expanse. When they load onto the train, all the maybe fertilizer and corn and stuff. So we're about to get on 2154, I think. Is that this road? Which is a 70 mile an hour, no shoulder road, which I'm not a fan of, but you're on it for like a mile and then you get on Old Highway 6, which is gravel again. So it's worth it. If you don't die, it's worth it. Yeah, this guy named Rob Britton, who seems to be from Canada, passed him and won. And I think he was riding front suspension and bigger tires. And Heather Jackson said, oh, and Lachlan Morton had no light throughout the night. At least no bike light. I can't imagine that he didn't have like a headlamp. But no light like mounted to your handlebars, which is where you can mount like a really nice big light. So I'm like, dude, the fact that he got second, Lachlan Morton, without a really good lighting system at night, because they ride overnight, and I think he was by himself. Dude, that's crazy. And I don't think there was a full moon. I think it was like maybe like a half moon. If they had no clouds. Car back. Get over. after I got the rear radar, the whole reason I bought one was probably DC Rainmaker and some other people said, once you have it, you never want to ride without it again. Now, it does not work well in the city because you just have cars behind you constantly. But out here, where it's every couple minutes or so, at most, it is wonderful. Because there's no cars coming up behind me, I can ride like in the tire track where it's smoother and make sure I'm not in any gravel. Well, if I was on a road bike, not in any gravel. And then if I hear a car coming up behind me with the radar, I can move over like this. And ride the stuff that's not ideal. But I could tell like that a car there's no more cars for a second, maybe. And I get back out on the easier part of the road again. It just makes riding so much safer. And then they got debris in the road or pothole. You want to know if there's anybody behind you so you can kind of go around it. Over the railroad tracks, we're now on Old Highway 6 very briefly, and then we're going to turn on Ward Road. This might be about another mile long dead end. But riding into the headwind, even though I'm on gravel, I can do aero bars. They kind of relax. And like Heather Jackson said, I'm pretty sure she was riding mountain bike front tires. She said she hit a bunch of stuff, and with the bigger tires, she didn't flat, didn't wreck. Although she might have wrecked once, I think. But riding at night, you can't see as well, and so you hit all kinds of stuff, and a bigger tire will actually help you go faster and more comfortable. I think, like I said earlier, it is wild, like how much more with a wider tire you could just ride straight. And then in gravel racing, you got a lot of surprising because the road's always changing. It's not a consistent surface, so you're like, just gotta bebopping along, maybe sitting upright, riding one hand, drinking out of a water bottle, and then bam, you hit something. And if you've got more cushion, you're like only half as likely to like lose control of the bike, and it adds up, you know. Okay, 33 RPM. My watts are a little low today. I think I'm a little blown out. I started riding Zwift again indoors, and I love it. So great. Yeah, my watts are low today. That's why you really want to ride with power if you can. I know it's a lot of money, but riding without power, the best analogy I've heard is it's like going to the gym and lifting weights without numbers on the weight plates. And your output while working out really is important to know, because it'll tell you, kind of like what's going on with your body and like how hard you should go today. Big cow, hey babe, it's okay. I know they're out and back. This route has a lot of out and backs, but I've learned to love them because a long time ago, riding road and triathlon, because slowing down and then having to re-accelerate is really good training for the legs. It builds power. Oh, and there was an article I read that was so cool where they did a whole lot of research on should you lift weights or do heavy gearing on your bike to become a stronger rider. And also, do sprints on your bike or lift weights to become a faster sprinter or breakaway attacker. And the results were so cool. Pretty much what I thought. You got a fast downhill here in the aero bars, gravel. Yeah, so on gravel, if you set your aero bars just a tad bit higher, spread out the elbow pads just a tad bit more than you would on the road, and then, what's the other thing? Put in a bigger front tire, which you should do anyway if you're on gravel. You have so much control in the aero bars that all of a sudden you can spend more time in the aero bars when you're going high speed, and have way more control and you end up being able to ride high-speed downhill on gravel, no problem, and eking out a couple more miles per hour every time. Yeah, this guy Rob Britton passed Lachlan with like 10 miles to go or something. And they just said basically the wheels fell off, as in Lachlan ran out of energy. But in his post-race interview, he was like, you know, I really wasn't feeling it. And partway through the ride, I was like, this is freaking awesome. You know, you don't have to win everything. You just need, so I told Kai, my college age student, I go, dude, the chances of you being the best, like Keegan, I mean, you might be, you never know. But it's so small that the way to be a pro is to just race and have a good attitude, train as hard as you can, have decent results, like win smaller races, and then be competitive in the giant races, and then post on social media, like being really helpful and having a good attitude and being there for other people. And then as a pro, people love you because you're so helpful and nice, and you start getting like people that want you to coach them, and you can start giving your advice on like gear setups, and sponsors, which pay your salary as a pro, are like, hey, I like this guy / girl, and boom, bike sponsorship, money coming in. And then your whole attitude on whether you're a great cyclist or not doesn't hinge on you winning. But Matthew Vanderpool is like, he and Wout are like the greatest cyclists right now. And, you know, they don't have to win everything. They just have to be really good. They win a lot. It really sucks to be great for a while, and then when you're not great, the best, that people kind of throw you away because that's what they think your value is. But if you're just pretty darn good, and you know you're top 10, like freaking Dylan Johnson, dude, he doesn't win anything, and he's super popular right now because he's helpful, you know. And he covers the latest stuff. Just thought I saw another snake, but it was not. This might be a ride. A few rides ago, I needed to take a couple of breaks. Like, I think I took 3 breaks. Like, just heat breaks. It's so hot. And now I'm getting smarter. I'm like, maybe we're almost 2 hours in, and I decided when we hit 2 hours, I start drinking this ice water on the back. I'm gonna wait until we're halfway through the ride. So we're on Old Highway 6 again, paralleling whatever this is. Is it 2154, 1179? I get them mixed up. Yeah, we're coming up on an intersection where we take we're headed southeast. And we're about to take a ride on White Switch Road. And switch, I think, refers to like a railroad switch yard. There's some gravel cyclists. I think one of them missed the turn. He's going to turn around. No? Maybe they broke up. Oh, one's taking pavement. The roads run parallel to each other. I'm going to hoot at them. Woo! Yeah, I don't think they heard me. Okay. Oh, well, I did attract a Pitbull. That's good. They're so funny the way the hair on their back like comes up. So yeah, Rob Britton won. Lachlan did not. Lawrence Tindam, who I've met at a pizza party. We hung out with Alex Howes, which is really cool. And a couple other notable people like Gravel Locos. Gravel Locos is like Unbound, but way smaller. I think it's 1/10 the size, but a lot of pros go do it. So it's a really great opportunity. The night before, or 2 nights before the race, they have a pizza party, and you can just go there and hang out. The, God, what was his name? Terpstra? Guy that won Paris-Roubaix was there, was going to be in the race. Hung out with him. Well, he was at the end of the table. We had just like this really great dinner. Very casual though. You just go grab pizza, eat off a Dixie plate. I'm out in the middle of nowhere and there's this lady getting in her exercise walk. For the East Texas 400, I ordered off the internet these tiny little compasses that you can strap to things. And I've strapped a couple to my handlebars. And then what I do is before I go for a ride or a race, I look up to see what the wind direction is, you know, and how strong. And it's awesome. I could be like, oh, this road sucks because I'm riding with the wind and it just makes it hot. But on colder days, you're like, this road sucks. Or it's about to suck because I'm about to turn into the wind. This intersection coming up, I can tell I'm going south. The wind's out of the east, and I'm about to take a left at this intersection, so get ready. But what it does is, you know, they're battery free. They were super cheap, like 12 bucks for 15 of these things, and I can just like always know which way I'm going. And somebody mentioned, well, you got that field on your Garmin bike computer, but any field on your bike computer that's changing a lot, especially if you got like a map that's refreshing as you go along, it eats through the battery. And so this is battery free. So like right now, I know I'm headed south by southwest, and the wind is out of the southeast. So I'm getting some headwind. It's kind of a crosswind, but it allows me to put it in perspective. You're like, how hard should I go right now? And it's like, well, maybe not that hard, because it's about to get a whole lot harder, because I know the road's going to twist to the left coming up here, and then I'm going to be going directly into the headwind. So it allows you to like kind of pay. It's kind of like having like if you know the wind direction, it's kind of like knowing the hill profile. It's a real quick way to know when it's about to get hard and when it's about to get easy. And I've been doing it since, when was, maybe February? Was it East Texas 400? I don't know. I've been doing it since then, and it's really cool. All right, so the race, and it weighs nothing. It's 3 grams. Maybe. Yep. We're after 2 hours. It's time to start drinking the ice water as it gets hotter. It's 9:40 and 88 degrees. Oh my God, that's wonderful. All right, we got a big downhill, and halfway down it turns to gravel. But yeah, like I'm a little bit slower on pavement, but it makes the gravel the bigger tires make the gravel so much more pleasant. So yeah, there's this reasonable observation now. Sorry if it's windy, I'm riding right into a big headwind, and I'm out on the open prairie. Although I was watching somebody's video of the race, and they didn't have the wind noise muffled as good as you could, but it actually made it sound cooler. So you get to hear what it's really like. I got 2 wind muffs on this thing. I think I'm riding like 12 miles an hour into a 18 mile an hour wind. I got 30 mile an hour wind net. Airspeed is 30 miles an hour. Ground speed 12. I wonder what they're growing around here. Looks like either corn or sorghum on the left, radishes or something like that on the right. So yeah, let's move on to the 200. I'll remember things about the 300 or the XL, but I'm not trying to think so hard about it. Okay, this is slow going. I'm getting the arrow bar. You can hear the birds. Got a mix of whatever. I don't know what the birds are, but they're red-shouldered blackbirds, which like to dive bomb you. So yeah, like I mentioned earlier, we had friends of the show, Chase Warwick, Drew Dillman, Emily Newsom, Hannah Shell, Justin McQuarrie. If you want to roll back, some of them on a Lauf. Got an interview with the CEO, the president of Lauf, on a back episode, talking about the design of those bikes. I think they did what this bike is they put a mountain bike bottom bracket, which is wider. This is just a training ride, so I think I'm gonna pause here in the shade for a second. Going over a creek channel. One time we were crossing this bridge, there was this giant freaking snake right here. I'm still getting used to the single speed. And I notice I'll finish rides with my middle back, not so much my lower back, but my middle back hurting. And I think it's riding single speed in the aero bars. And the aero bar, I don't have much choice. This, what do you call it, the steering tube is cut to what it is. It's just like, maybe like, there's some poison ivy, half a centimeter to a centimeter lower than what I like. I wonder if that's a snake in the road up there. We'll see if he moves. And so it takes time to adapt to a lower aero position. This is nice. I don't have a place to lean my. It's an aluminum bike, so I can sit on the top tube. You shouldn't sit on the top tube on your carbon bikes. People, it drives me crazy all the time I see it. Carbon bike top tubes are actually, that is a snake, it's moving. Let's go, let's go. He just moved a lot. Let's get up on him. Dude, it's a cottonmouth. It's a fucking cottonmouth. Excuse my language. It's a cottonmouth. All right, this is a cottonmouth, I think. This is a big one. Whew. We're down in a lowland area. There's a creek channel that way. People think cottonmouths are super aggressive, but they're not. They don't chase you like they think. People think. Is there a stick? See if we can get him to open his mouth. Yeah, he's got that big flat head. He's wiggling his tail. I'm gonna grab a big piece of grass. See if I can get him to, compared to my bike, look how big this freaking thing is. Whoa. I dropped my phone. No, we want you to go this way. You can go this way. You can go this way. You wanted to go that way. Okay, okay. Wow. He's hissing a little bit. Wow. I bet you me dropping the phone is pretty funny. So Emily asked why I always mess with the snakes. Well, I wanted to get them out of the road because where I live, especially, you get people that purposefully hit the animals. And they'll hit snakes that are non-venomous. And venomous snakes are good. People don't think that they are, but they keep the rat population down. And rats are what spread the Black Plague. And we do not need that. So you definitely want snakes around, but if they're venomous, you want to keep an eye on them and move them somewhere else or something. Rat snakes are non-venomous, king snakes, all kinds of great snakes. So they're not really a problem. But that thing was cool. Okay. We didn't get him to open his mouth. Maybe when I look at the video, I'll be able to see and get a still shot as he kind of struck at me, but maybe not. All right, bye. Okay, so when I was a kid, my dad would go running, and we lived in a neighborhood that had lots and lots of running trails. They were paved, but I think we had 120 miles of running trails, and he would bring back snakes. And unfortunately, he would kill them. Now, this was the 80s, and it wasn't looked as frowned upon as now. You know, times change. But also, what makes it so much different nowadays is we have phones, right? So I could take a video. I could live my dad's tradition because it was awesome. I learned a lot about snakes by the, like, 5 or 6 snakes my dad brought home, you know, and some of them alive if they were he was pretty badass with that stuff. But I would learn a lot, you know, like about how snakes, and not to be so afraid of them. And then when I got to be an adult and have my own kid, I was like, I see a snake, I'm like, oh, I got a phone. I can take a video. We got a car coming. I can take a video of the snake and not have to bring it home, which there's no way I'm doing that. I don't like picking up snakes so much as my dad did. And yeah, let me send it here. And it's so cool. I can take pictures of all kinds of wildlife and stuff and bring it home, or I don't even have to get home. I can just text a video of it, and then I get to leave the wildlife alone, and I get my little adventure in. Like these long bike rides on the weekend are like what I look forward to all week. And in a way, what happens is when you train for Ironman and you learn how to get really healthy and decently fit and fast and learn to balance it all, you feel so amazing, because to train like that, you have to eat right, you know, and it actually gives you more energy than less about half the time. You know, sometimes you're tired and all that. And then you're just like, this is the best. And then, okay, come on. I don't need that. And I guess I'll put this in my back pocket while it uploads. And then you're like, the urge to race. It's really funny because I've seen a lot of people that have been training for a long time talk about this on Slow Twitch, is the big triathlon forum. Is like, they're like, anybody else out here would rather just like going to a race actually ruins their big weekend of training. Well, you start off training to race, but then after a while you fall in love with the training and the tapering, so you're not training as much, and then the race itself, and then the recovery from the race. You're talking 2-3 weeks of downtime when actually you learn to love the, like this is what I'm doing right now, you know, out here in the countryside. And this becomes the activity. And then you just continue on with your training as if you're training for something. But then I get to see, dude, freaking snakes and foxes. You know, like seeing a fox is really special. They have skunks and on rare occasion a tarantula, and then like, you know, interacting with the country folk and everything. It's just so cool. And then I work in an office. I actually have my own little office, but I work in a cube and in the middle of town, and it's just so nice to get away from that, cruise around on the weekend and see stuff like this. And it's like people say, who would want to ruin a perfectly good bike ride with a race? But I'm also, you know, I grew up like super competitive sports, and racing definitely has, I think people really enjoy racing because it shows you like how your training, is it actually even doing? And then you get around more people. So they both have their value. While that's uploading, let's see what. And I think this is going to take a long time to upload. The problem is with Instagram is you have to leave it open, and if you leave it open, then you're risking something touching the screen and then screwing it up. You can hear the wind blowing through the grass and the trees. It's been mostly cloudy this morning, and then towards noon we're going to lose it, and it's going to suck. My friend Morgan hates snakes. I can't wait to send him that video. That thing was a unit. It's probably 3.5 feet long, and cottonmouths are real thick. You can tell a cottonmouth from a regular water snake. Water snakes will swim with their head out of the water and the rest of their body pretty much, you know, like an inch or two under the water. And cottonmouths are thick, and I guess they have more body fat, so they float. And so if a snake's coming at you on the surface of the water, that's a cottonmouth. Again, they don't chase people per se, although that one gave me a little run for my money. That video's going on Instagram. Y'all gotta go check that out, dude. He lunged at me, dude, and I like dropped my, but I was messing with him, so he was just minding his own. All right, let's get going again. So after I do one of these rides, I just feel so nice. Yeah, so hey, it goes back to that Lachlan Morton and Leo Wilcox, where they were just like, I feel rejuvenated after doing this race. So you don't have to win, you just need to be pretty good. And it's still better than most people. And yeah, regain your sense of self a little bit there. Anywho, so let's start off with the men's race. Chase Wart and Drew Dillman raced together as some kind of like little miniature team. And then Chase said in a video I just watched this morning, that he was trying to form a group of like 5-something people to get a breakaway off the front, because he's so aero that if he could get a breakaway, he might be able to sustain the breakaway with that aero advantage. And people that don't think that aero matters in gravel, it matters in 2 ways. That race averaged 24 miles an hour for 8 hours. Aero matters, dude. It matters a lot. And then, because everybody's like, oh, you don't go as fast. Well, what about that? And then, the other thing is, if you're really aero, like I mentioned earlier, you can get dropped from a pack. You can get dropped from a pack because something that you did, and you didn't want to get dropped. You could catch back up. Like, you took longer at the aid station, and oh my God, they only have 2 aid stations for 200 miles, right? And there's this panic in the aid stations, which people are commenting from the video footage that this is no longer fun. And you take like 6 seconds at an aid station. I mean, come on, you know? So, towards the end of the show, I got solutions for that kind of thing we'll talk about. And the other thing is, if you're really aero, then actually you can ride, and I do this in a lot of my races. And I've got experience with this. I may have talk about it later in the show, but I've raced a lot of mountain bike racing where you need to be up at the front because it's such a narrow track that if you get stuck behind somebody, that it really screws up your race. And so it's really combative in the front. So I know my stuff about that. And then you also can ride a different style where, and this is what I like to do in gravel racing, not mountain bike racing, but gravel racing, is I ride, it's hard to judge the distance, but a few bike lengths off the people in front of me. So there'll be a pack, and then there's me, off the back, not off the front. So Chase's strategy was to go off the front as soon as he could, because he's so aero. Chopped off the lower half of his handlebars, super narrow, time trial helmet, disc wheel, aero front wheel. Now he's on a Lauf, and I know for a fact that's a single front chainring, which is not going to help. And people want to argue about, single front chainring is better for gravel and stuff. Well, no, it's better for mountain biking, but for gravel, the more it turns into higher speeds, which we're figuring out how to go faster. Everybody is, with better tires, and better fueling. What happens is if you're riding the single front chainring, railroad tracks, I'm crossing over White Switch Railroad intersection. It's crossing over Highway 159, and then it goes down this dirt road to the Brazos River, which is pretty technical in places because it's not a real road. It's like a farmer road, so it's really rutted, and people drive down it and then causes big, like what I'm about to hit right here, big mud holes. And even if they don't have mud in them, when they dry out, they're pretty technical. And so it's really unfortunate people giving Chase all this crap, but also it's drawing a lot of attention, which is a pro, and he acknowledges he's not the strongest guy. So as long as other people won't do aero, him doing aero, it levels them up pretty much to their ability. And then after the race was over, he had this pretty good video, but then a part where he broke down in tears because he didn't do as well in the race. He blew up or something. But the thing is he just had a baby who he named after Wout. Wout, what's Wout's last name? The fantastic road racer and cyclocross guy. That's an awesome name. Anyway, there's a black wing, or a red-shouldered blackbird, and they dive bomb you. They're territorial. Oh, there's a car up ahead. There's birds in Australia, I don't know if they're magpies or something like that. They'll dive bomb you. They're pretty big. And they'll mess you up, like claw at you and stuff. But these are much smaller, like the size of a cardinal. But still, I've been hit in the shoulder and in the head. A few years ago for fun, I put googly eyes because we had some laying around. Guy's girlfriend had some for some art project on the back of my helmet. And that in India, they use that to keep tigers from stalking them because the tiger thinks the person's looking at them because of the eyes on the back of their head. And then we got to turn around right here. There's something I was going to do that. And we got a big fence full of ivy blocking the wind, so I'm going to move forward a little bit and get back into the breeze. And oh, I was going to message Emily and Kai and Morgan, this freaking snake. It'll be funny, like if it's like a jump scare where I go, ah, and I drop my phone. That's uploading. And then, let's see. I am going slow today because the past 2 weekends, it's been so hot that I'm a wreck when I finish my ride. But I really like my ride. I don't want to cut it short. So I've been going earlier, and now we got ice water, and I'm slowing down. And he's not going to like that. He says things like, fuck that noise. He lives in San Diego, and the place is filthy with rattlesnake, because I used to live there, and I know. Oh, it looks like I've already sent it to Emily. And let's go. We're going to have a tailwind for a while, which will be nice. Depends. And, oh, let's go. All the guys from GCN, one of them did Unbound, I think. He finished. Maybe. No, this is the guy that did the owner of GCN did a race in Scotland, maybe. The part where the snake attacks me would make a good short little reel. I could edit that video down and repost it. Okay, let's leave Instagram open for a while and see if it finishes. That's such a pain. They really need to stop that. Let's drink some ice water. The good thing about having both of my favorite routes are big loops, and they have little out and back offshoots off of them. And then what I can do is cut them short. You know, cut the ride short by not doing the out and backs as much as the ride gets worse and worse. So see and then I have another route that I like a lot, but it has no way to make it shorter in case you start, struggling. I wonder if that's why I don't ride it so much. All right, so the men's race, people were saying it started off as the hardest, most intense race start. The video footage is freaking nuts. And the first 25 miles were the worst. The first 50 miles was almost as bad, and then it got better after that, supposedly. But lots of crashes, and let's see, Keegan went down in a pace line. The thing with the aero bars is funny, is that, when you ban aero bars, then you create this panic situation. I talk about that more at the end. So people are taking all kinds of risks to stay with the group, because then if they get dropped from the group, they got no hope of catching back up. And I think that bringing aero bars back would reduce the panic. I talk a lot about it more at the end. The panic is the problem. It causes people to make bad decisions, and you cause accidents. And yeah, this road is messed up. Big pothole. And anyway, a lot of flat tires. People talk about how many flats they get because of the arrowhead style rocks, and trying to maintain the front group. And I guess they said around mile 50 or mile 70, Cam Jesus Christ. That was like a scene out of Pet Cemetery. I was like, that truck was on the wrong side of the road because he was in a sweeping turn. So I wasn't expecting him to be like freaking a foot from me. And then then there was potholes, and my front wheel caught the edge of one and almost toppled me over into the road. Which just coincidentally, this is a flat bar gravel bike. When I pulled it out of the garage when my other bike was in the shop, started riding it, it just happened to have flat bars on it, and I was like, I'm gonna give this a spin, because I got a theory that gravel is actually a lot like triathlon, where if you're not in the aero position, there's a reason why you're not in the aero position. You're either like behind somebody or in a group, well then you don't really need to be in the drops, you know, and be like super aero. So you could be up on the flat bars. And then what you do is you cut the flat bars down so they're not so wide, which I still need to do on this one. These are standard width mountain bike bars, and I've moved the grips inboard a bunch, and it actually made me probably a mile per hour faster. And then the other time you're on the flat bars is because it's technical. And that section back there was technical, and so it gives you more leverage and more precision steering. You're less likely to crash on the flats. And then if you end up on a course that's a little bit more single tracky, you definitely have more control over the bike. So it's really, really interesting. So far it's been, I like it. I would not ride a flat bar gravel bike without aero bars. It's the combination of the two that makes it, I think, possibly faster than riding road bars with aero bars. Because, like I said, you spend most of your time either drafting off of somebody or in the aero bars, because you're riding solo. And then when it gets really technical, when you get out of the aero bars, you're now on flat bars, which are incredible for controlling a bike in a technical terrain. Way better than hoods and drops. And it makes you less likely to crash. So I noticed the past few races that I did, like 62 mile, 100K gravel races, I was on this bike with flat bars, and we're like descending down a crazy technical downhill with holes, and it's rough. I was passing people because I had flat bars, and I could ride it more like a mountain bike downhill. And then when we would go into sketchy areas, so you're riding and it's nice, but then it's starting to get kind of sketchy, and then as you go down into a creek bottom, you know, the pavement or the road, the gravel gets rough because the creeks run over the road, and so there's holes and what do you call it, big rocks. So on a flat bar, you can control the bike a whole lot better. You're way less likely to crash, kind of like what happened back there with that 18-wheeler, where I hit the edge of a pothole and it sent my tire one direction, but I had way more leverage over the tire because I was on a flat bar, not a whatever bar. But anything with cycling, I'm not like a huge advocate of you have to do this and you have to do that. There's things that I think are obvious, but only because I've tried them and I've learned that, yeah, it's pretty freaking obvious. Like aero bars. Unless your race has a pro category where aero bars are banned, you definitely want aero bars. They're so awesome. And then, really, I think, you know, you buy a bike, dude, the bikes are so expensive that, you know, whatever it comes with, that's what you're going to ride for a long time until a part breaks. And then you have like some, you know, thoughts of like, oh, since it's broken and I'm replacing it. maybe I'll try this thing that I've been thinking about. And that's kind of what happened with this bike. So I got my gravel bike, my real gravel bike, out of the shop. And a real indicator of like how happy or much you think something's better than another thing is if I thought a classic gravel bike with drop bars and, you know, smaller tire clearance was so much better than this bike with bigger tires and a flat bar, then I would have moved over. I would have ridden it today. Because I got it like a week or two ago out of the shop. But I still haven't done it. It's really bizarre. And my hands were starting to hurt, so now I'm in the aero bar. So the thing is to ride that other bike, I have to switch equipment over. I have to move my saddle back over, and my pedals, and my aero bars, because I love riding with aero bars and gravel. I think it's so much fun. And I'm like, right? You can tell how much somebody wants something by making them have to work for it. And if they're like, well, but it's like, okay, well, you didn't really want it that bad. So since I was going to have to work for it to make the other bike rideable again, I was just like, wow, that's an indicator that I'm not done with this yet. But I don't want to give up the bigger tires and the flat bar, for sure. Moving the aero bars over, that's, you know, that's no big deal. And then the thing is rim brakes, they're fine. Mechanical shifting is fine, you know? As long as you got a double chain. Maybe. Yeah, so Cam and this guy that's a roadie for the Tudor, I think they make watches or something, in Europe, he had an all black kit on. Cam was in all white. Hey, Cam's from New Zealand. And there's video footage of him going to the aid station. I think it's his mom and dad that are helping hand up stuff. They did the sachet thing where it's like a strap, like a little messenger bag kind of setup. Didn't even stop, he just kept going. And even though he wasn't riding mountain bike tires, the thing was he was in front, so he didn't have to watch out for obstacles. He didn't have sudden impacts that he couldn't see coming, so he could go around the stuff. And then I don't think he flatted. Oh, we got a nasty hill coming. Pretty much the worst hill of the ride. It's uphill and with a tailwind. First half is gravel, then it turns to pavement. You're like, oh, pavement will be easier. No, that's when it gets steeper. So with that two-person breakaway, these two guys were able to win. Keegan crashed while in a pace line. And I always like to point out, oh, he crashed. He wasn't in aero bars. And so, what's that about? I thought aero bars is what makes people crash. Or is it just riding right on people's asses, period, you know? And then, yeah, the tire swap with Tobin, I guess. Doing 30 RPM. Not a lot of power though, 220. Just taking my time. Riding a single speed, or just any kind of really steep thing where you're out of gears and you're kind of this low RPM, really teaches you bike handling skills, how to ride at very low speeds without falling over. And the better you get at that, the more you can ride at a lower speed up a steep hill, not blow yourself out. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so I kind of forgot who were the other winners. Now we're on pavement, but it's going to get really steep here in a second. I got a car coming up that would have cut me off if they didn't see me. But a year ago, I started riding with a blinky light on the front, just almost every ride. And I fell in love with it. I'm like, I think it's such an easy thing to do. Oh my God. I'm going to paperboy up this hill. 24 RPM, 250 watts. Paperboying is named after it, where you snake up the road. So you're not going right into the steep, you're taking it at an angle. So when kids deliver newspapers, they snake down the street and throw the newspapers on either side of the street. So it's like this back and forth snaking. It is a fantastic way to make a hill climb easier. Okay, car up. Let's drink some ice water. That's nice. I don't know how much I got left. I don't think much. What you're supposed to do is leave it in for like a couple days. Then it really freezes solid. And then the ice will last a lot longer. And you don't fill it up all the way or else it expands, and wrecks your camelback. I fill it up like 1/2 to 2/3. Because the other thing is the lid will freeze in place. They can get the freaking lid off to fill the rest of it with water. We're at the top of the hill. Let's relax. If I ever sound stuffed up, it's because I'm a kid with allergies. Bad. They tested me, I was off the charts. They were like, when they ask for somebody else to come look at the results, it's a bad deal. Hey, doctor, come here, check this out. I was one of the worst they've ever tested. They paved this section of road last year. It's still super, super smooth. That's one of the coolest things about gravel. Gravel's got so many interesting, cool aspects to it. Is that the time just flies when you ride gravel. I took a break from long road rides for a year, maybe 2 years. I don't know how long it was. During the pandemic, I was riding mountain biking. And I was like, dude, I don't want to get back out there. And it's been 4 or 5 hours on the road in the heat with traffic. Gary! My friend Gary showed up. He's on a Cervelo Aspero. I'm going to tease him. He's wearing like hot pink. He's catching up right now.
Hey, they said go outside, it'll be fun.
Is it hot enough?
It went down.
Oh, you crashed?
Yeah.
Where?
Milliken? Just making a turn on the gravel?
Yeah, went down?
Fuck.
Where are you going now? I'm going to go south on Old Highway 6.
Going wherever.
Oh, okay, cool.
Without being pissy that I'm bleeding and sweaty. And the other day I went out for a ride and I didn't think anything about it.
Yeah.
I spent 90 minutes with both eyes closed because I had shit in my eyes. I couldn't see anything for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It was great. It was 90 minutes, like 260 watts because I couldn't see anything. Every time I wiped my eyes, I put more in it. I was like, bullshit.
When'd you get that cast helmet?
Oh, Sarah bought it for me for Christmas.
Oh, I haven't seen one like that.
Well, if you design your own.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, gotta be special.
Hey, I was recording for my podcast. You want me to turn it off?
No, you're good.
Okay. I'll take out your indignant crashing. Makes you look lame.
If you don't crash, you don't ride.
Yeah, I never crash, dude.
You have to go fast enough.
You have to not be scared.
Well, you have to ride your bike more than 2 or 3 times a year to that bike can't do.
Me?
No, me.
Okay. How far are you riding today?
Until I get tired and go home.
I don't know if you've ridden the rest of this route that I've ridden before. Could go right.
You act like I had to be with you.
Have you done those little out and backs when we go back up Highway 6?
On the north side?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, I went down Cherokee for the first time today.
On the east side. I wonder which one's Cherokee.
Well, run right before Santa's Wonderland.
Oh, yeah. That's a good road, dude.
Oh, it's a little hill right
Yeah, that's a good road. And then you get to the end of it.
there.
Yeah, you got to turn around and climb right back up that
Well,
stupid
it's
thing.
dicey at the bottom, too.
Yeah, it hits gravel hard and fast.
It's going to kill my power numbers just butting around.
Dude, in gravel, there are no power numbers. It's all just bullshit. Did you see the power numbers of the guy that won Unbound?
XL or
The 200.
200?
He averaged 24 miles an hour for 200 miles.
Mid stop.
Yeah, 298 watts for 8 hours. Broke the record by half an hour. He was from New Zealand. He was like only 24 years old or something. And he was on
4 plus 30.
He was on 40, maybe a 50 front and a 45 rear, maybe.
Yeah, I saw he had a wider front than rear.
Yeah.
I don't know, bike manufacturers are pissed.
Dude, all we gotta do is put a mountain bike bottom bracket in.
Yeah, there's more to it than just that. like when Sabella went to the new model,
Yeah.
different bottom bracket is fine, but then you have to have different crank. It has to be wide. I don't know. There's so much. When you camp is out like 14 or 15. And
Oh, they got 13 speed now.
so I don't know if there was something out. Someone was like a unreleased deal, and then
Yeah.
Shimano finally came out with a pure wireless mountain bike.
Yeah. Yeah, bunch
And
of
sitting there going, hey, I thought we were the big boys on the market, which is 13 before. It's great, but it's different chains, different.
Almost everybody that won was on a double chain ring.
Yeah. Well, because you can't, realistically, when you get flat, you just can't get the juice going. No matter how much power you do,
Yeah.
the ratio's just not there unless you're running a 53 in front.
Yeah, and that's what that guy, he was running a 53-36 double chain ring. You know, and at 295 watts.
What's the Tri 5339? The traditional Tri?
Yeah. I read somewhere that you could do a jump of 13 teeth. I think it's 13. So you could do like a 53, like 37 or 30, no, 53, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw there was a guy that we interviewed and I watched on YouTube and he was talking about the jump. The jump was legitimate.
Yeah, after we went on our tri-bikes from like 10 to 11 speed or something like that back in the day, I could totally tell a difference. Like I was way better at staying at the right cadence. That felt good. And that was on a double chain ring with an 11.
Do you ever play around with the gearing on Zwift?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because, I mean, it can get wild.
Yeah.
You can get screwed if you're on the wrong one. I actually got into the one that was like 1x12, and I couldn't find a sweet spot. I had to go back to the 1x24 because I couldn't find. I was doing the pacer.
Oh, you're right now.
If you ride a tri-bike with a pacer, you don't get the aero advantages.
Yeah, are you riding
So you got to run about 0.5 watts per kilogram heavier or harder to keep up the pace.
So are you riding?
2.2 pacer, you got to ride about 2.6 or 2.7.
Are you riding the Zwift 1 or the Zwift where you got to change gears?
What do you
The
mean?
Zwift trainer. What trainer are you on?
The same one.
Mine, the one that you got me.
Yeah, because I just had the Zwift bike on it still.
Oh, so what I do is I'll ride the smaller
But in
chain
the
ring.
settings, you can run Shimano with Tram, and there's 3 or 4 different.
Oh, the settings on the bike?
Yeah, on the well, in the settings for the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's Shimano or Tram. One by you can run. You may not get it until you do upgrade,
Oh.
but like you can run a 5339.
Oh, mine has like 23 gears.
Yeah, so
24
there's a whole slew of different
I did not know that.
options now. But I got stuck at 1x12 and was with a pacer bike riding the tri-bike.
Yeah. Fuck
So you
that,
don't get
dude.
any of the group drafts.
Yeah.
I just wanted the XP. So I wanted the XP on a level. So I was like, shit, I got 12 or 15,000 miles on Zwift and I'm only like level 70.
Let me get a picture of you. Wait, let me get pretty a little bit. You gotta get the power beard in there. Wait. And then,
Yeah, I passed the guy on Peach Street, whatever it's called, on the other side. I was going up that hill.
yeah.
At first I thought it was you, because I was behind him, and his cadence was never changing. I was like, fuck, that guy's got to be on a 1 vibe. Just
No.
Look, because his cadence never changed.
My cadence has to change a shit ton.
I know, but he couldn't.
It's like he was,
I got behind him, I was like, I guess like 5.5 foot tall.
that's not us.
And then I was like, well, shit, now I got to put down all these huge numbers for passing, because I don't want to ride with the guy.
Yeah.
I'm bleeding all over the place, I'm fucking sweating, I can't see. I'm like, okay.
So how'd you end up crashing? Like, how bad is it?
No, it's
Oh,
nothing.
here, let's switch sides. I want to get a picture of that. Let's cross wheels and go down, both of us. Wait, do it
I
again.
washed it off like 10 times.
Do it again. Oh, dude, I saw a huge cottonmouth. I was stopping to take a pee break. And I was like, I wonder if that's a big branch up the road. And then it started moving across the road, and it was big, dude. And then he lunged at me, and I dropped my phone. So, like, if you don't know that I'm alive, you would think
That was the end of
that was it. That's the end. I go, ah, and the phone goes, I go, God damn it.
Going down or going straight?
I
Turn around.
go straight. And then right at the drop, I almost crashed earlier. I got hit by an 18-wheeler. Like out of Pet Cemetery, the little kid in the street. Okay, he looks up and this 18-wheeler just crushes him. That's what it was like. I was looking down at the ground because it was technical. There's like little potholes and stuff, and I was kind of wedging over. And then I look up and this 18-wheeler's coming around a bend, and he's in the wrong lane. And I'm like a foot from the road. And then I'm like, ah! And then my wheel got stuck in the pothole, and I almost fell into the road. And the truck just goes, whoa! That might be a snake right there. No, that's a stick. All right, so I'm riding with my good buddy Gary in our very equal Ironmans. He actually clocked it a little bit faster than me one time. And I used to coach him, so this is good fun. Nice surprise. He was just out riding. He's got blood all over his leg. So we're taking a bathroom break, and then I'm going to rearrange some bottles here. He is one hell of an athlete. So, yeah, pee break, and I'm going to send pictures. I took pictures of Gary. I'm going to send them to my friends. Be like, look who I'm riding with. I hope my Camelback's not already melted. I mean, it is freaking way hotter. The Camelback is cool, but it is not cold. It melted that fast. I'll get you a temperature number here in a second. So Gary's on an Aspero, and it's the first generation or whatever with really narrow tires. I think it's like 42 front and back. And he's bigger than me, but he's got plenty going on in his life and is not buying a new bike anytime soon. Kai's girlfriend has an Aspero, the one with the color shifting paint job. It's like an amazing bike. But yeah, it's more of a road bike, more like an all-road bike. So the road I'm on now is dead flat out and back for like 2 miles. And I don't really bother with it because riding dead flat really isn't worth my training time. So yeah, let's talk about the women's race. Well, yeah, Chase Wark blew up, and let's talk about that real quick. Chase Wark blew up. There's a section of the video where he's like crying because, you know, he really sunk a lot into this race. And then I left him a message, and I said, dude, you didn't race really the best that you wanted to because you had a baby. And if there's any good reason to not race great, it's because you didn't spend time training as you did taking care of a new kid and it's a baby and your wife. So don't feel bad because he's in that kind of like area where he's like, it's still selfish, the amount of training you do, and then to not perform well, you feel like you let down your wife because the wife sacrificed, the mom sacrifices so much. And it's like, dude, I've 100% been there, dude. When little kids come along, all of a sudden you're like, I got to choose between doing a bike ride or listening to my kid show me all of his colorings that week and then play Hot Wheels cars with him. And which one's more important, dude? You know? You, Chase, and me, hopefully, we're well-rounded good dads because our parents did that for us. They set aside their priorities, and so it's okay. And the fact that you didn't do great, maybe it's a great indicator, a positive one, that you cut back on your training to be a better dad. And there's no better reason. So it's okay. Oh, and then with the whole aero thing, his whole goal was to break off the front, he said. And then because he's got such an aero bike to maintain his front, and I said, dude, you're thinking about it wrong, okay? He's not the most powerful, he's not Keegan, so he's not the most powerful cyclist there, right? So what you got to do is race smart and let other people wear themselves down. So what aero bars, or he's not riding aero bars because he can't, but a super aero bike with a disc wheel and chopped down handlebars and a time trial helmet and, you know, race kit that's like super aero, all that crap is what you do if you're not the fastest with all that stuff that makes you faster. Because if you break off the front, you're not going to be able to sustain it. The world tour guys are just going to run you down. You know? So what you do is you ride off. You're thinking about it wrong. Instead of trying to break off the front early, what you do is you ride off the back of the front pack early and let them waste all this energy while you just kind of keep them in sight, right? And then because you're so aero, you can be off the back of that front pack some, like 10, 20, 30 feet, right? And as they crash or drop bottles or hit something really rough and they have to slow down, you can just coast, and you're so aero. You can just coast and catch back up with them over and over and over again. In Boy Scouts, hiking in the mountains with heavy backpacks, as an adult, I taught the other adults too. I said, let them go. They're supposed to lead anyway and do navigation with the maps. These are like older scouts that are high adventure, and they're supposed to be learning how to do map reading. Let them get ahead because they're young and they're wild and they're going to go hard, and then they're going to need to take breaks. They're going to take wrong turns. They're going to do all kinds of dumb stuff. And us at our slower, more casual pace, and also because we're carrying more of the gear, because we will. And I told the kids several times, they're like, Mr. Blaine, are you coming? I go, don't worry about me. And then finally I had to say, I will catch you at the next time that you all are all stopped trying to figure out where to go. And it works. And so I'm being more efficient and saving energy. And then towards the end of the hike, guess who's got more energy? And then with 30 miles to go, let's say, you haven't gone anywhere near as hard as front of the pack. And if you get dropped with a, you got to plug a tire, you know, whatever, then you're so aero that it's easy to catch up, right? And while they're messing up and crashing because they can't see what they're doing because they're all piled up together, you got a nice clean line of sight. And you end up catching them, right? And then you've averaged less watts than they have to get to mile 170. And now at mile 170, you've got the more aero bike and you're not as tired as they are. And you haven't crashed as much and all this other. And so when it whittles down to just like 5-10 people, now you're in the mix with them and they're worn out. And also because you're off the back a little bit, you can spend time like fueling and hydrating better because you can do it because you're not in the combat zone wedged in between everything. And then you'll break off the front and they can't keep up. And with your super aero bike, guess who wins? You.
A long way.
Yeah, dude.
Fucking up and down there. It's like Paris-Roubaix, but
Yeah, it's I think this is some of the original pavement.
the original Highway 6.
Yeah.
Oh, look, there's pot going on.
And you can see some of these old bridges are really old.
That's why they're called old bridges.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Dad.
I mean, I made a mistake in a meeting the other day of talking about I don't know, for whatever reason, but for some reason I just started, all I ever do is watch YouTube now.
Yeah.
You know, Grayson mentioned, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, I'm learning about fucking Cottonmouth. He's like, that's such an ultra thing to do.
Yeah, when they finally got maps of the world, my degree's in geography, so I know a lot about that. Like the whole history of discovering that. They finally got a good map of the world, and somebody's like, dude, this all fits together like a puzzle. And then they're like, well, how do you really know? And then it was discovering for sure, got a car back, the fossils. And so what you do is you look on 2 continents, like say the west side of Africa.
Yeah, and I got that. I get the west side of Africa and the east side of
South America, and then you find
side of Australia fits perfectly on the east side of the U.S.
Yeah, so you look at the fossils from this, and then all of a sudden there's a whole bunch of fossils from the exact same time of the exact same animal.
So we were talking, we're supposed to go on this last year we went to Key West
Yeah.
for a work trip. This year we're going to go to Lake Placid.
Yeah.
Well, he asked, he goes, well, I said, I want to go to Lake Placid. He goes, what's in Lake Placid? I was like, well, it's kind of the mecca for U.S. retirement, to be fair.
Sure.
I said, it's a, famous Olympic town, so it'd be fun to go to Lake Placid. He goes, you want to go to the mountains? I said, dude, please, come on out. I said, it ain't Rocky Mountain, it ain't fucking mountain.
Yeah.
I said, I get it. I said, the only thing I want to know is this. I said, why are the mountains in Scotland actually the same mountains as the Appalachian, but the Appalachian mountains are fucking all worn down. So the mountains in Scotland are not.
It's not the same mountain range, is it?
Yeah, it is. The Hebrides.
Really?
Yeah, if you connect the dots, connect everything together,
Yeah.
the Appalachians run through Greenland, and then Scotland, all that. So all of that is part of the same original.
Did you know the high ground on the other side of the Brazos River where Independence is?
Yeah.
If you look around Independence, it's all sandstone, it's rock. They're on a rocky hilltop. It's a sandstone ridge line that runs all the way over here. And it makes the Hidalgo Falls rapids on the Brazos River. And then,
Hidalgo Falls.
huh?
What are they, Hidalgo Falls?
They're some of the most dangerous rapids in Texas.
They're like saying, is that like dangerous rapids?
Yeah, because it's on the Brazos River, and the Brazos River doesn't f around. I would never do rapids on the Brazos River. That river is nuts, dude. And it's so.
It's also filthy.
Yeah, it's way too powerful.
Is it really?
Yeah, and then it continues. Where do I see the sandstone? Oh, on Peach Creek Road, Rock Prairie Road, as it starts to turn to Peach Creek Road.
Yeah.
After you leave Lit Creek Park and you're going down, and you go through the tree canopy, and then there's a brief rise. If you look around there, it's sandstone ridgeline right there. There's a big outcropping of sand, and it's all connected.
Well, let's go with all new routes because we're moving.
Where are you moving to?
Welborn Settlement, probably.
Oh. All right, dude. Wait, Welborn Settlement, not Milliken?
Not yet. Can't figure out a way to make Milliken work.
What's Welborn Settlement?
Right there next to Welborn.
Okay.
Way too big a house. She wants to right about a little bit less than what my house is worth, but it's bigger and it's brand new.
Yeah, that route on the west side of town is really nice right now. The Hopes Creek route.
She knows me way too well. She goes, hey, is it going to be okay living on this side of town? Because she doing all the stupid KOMs over here. I was like, I should never have told that. Never admitted my KOMs. It'll never be broken because it looks like I like to. I'll never break them because I'll never own bikes fast enough to break them.
Yeah, I look at the very new triathlon bikes and I'm like, they're freaking incredible. But I'm like, I'm not going to sink that much money into a bike like that again.
No, not to. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I just look at it this way. When I get freaked out about numbers when I'm not just riding around, and this track right here is such a blessing because it's 22 and a half miles with literally no cars, 4 lanes or whatever. So you can train out here. You can't go anywhere. You have to be on the road all the time.
Right.
Yeah, 130, 150 miles a week on Zwift. It's kind of really boring.
On Zwift?
Yeah.
That one ride?
No, just 4 or 5 times a week. Total.
Yeah, I'm on your list of people that I get a notification. Oh, you're still in my training fee.
Nice.
So I get a notification that you get workout.
Nice.
I'm like, oh, I wonder what Gary did.
Some days I'm surprised, some days I'm like, God, that sucks.
The Navasota River was flooded up almost to the top of the road again.
From that rain we had?
Yeah, that road that goes down to the Navasota River.
Yeah.
It's flooded about halfway down it. What time did you start?
An hour 26, hour 32 in.
Okay, I'm at 3 hours.
I'm just looking for 2 hours. It took me over my time target. I have to lift today.
Oh, cool.
I started, like yesterday, I can't ever really figure out if I'm actually tired or under fuel.
Yeah.
But I also realize, because I'm not doing any super long efforts, I don't really think about fueling anymore because it's not really an issue. You're just going hard for an hour. But if you do every single day, it beats you down. So I couldn't tell, like sleep. My sleep is way up, but I don't really feel like I'm getting any rest. I got to figure out a new fueling strategy because I don't. I guess I just really haven't had to think about fueling in years.
Yeah, I'm just using table sugar and Gatorade powder and sodium citrate. Oh, dude, I made 4 hours worth of fuel yesterday.
Yeah.
So I didn't have to make it this morning.
How many calories?
Probably 350 an hour. And then I've done 400 and then I don't finish it. Yeah. And I left it on the counter half full because when I get in the morning I want to shake it again to make sure it's all shooken up.
Yeah.
And I woke up this morning and it's missing. And Emily's asleep and I'm like, Emily? Where's the 2 bottles of fuel? It was on the kitchen counter. And she's like, I washed them. And I'm like, God damn it.
Figured you were done with them?
But at least that shit's cheap. It's just table sugar and Gatorade powder.
Like regular Gatorade?
Yeah, so you buy the big container of Gatorade. It's like this big. It might be 5 pounds, 3 pounds. So this is the blue one. Arctic Bear Freeze or some shit.
Well, like a month ago, I upped my creatine to 10 to 15 milligrams a day.
Yeah.
And I gained 10 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Well, okay, so we got the mechanism for creatine. It's really water in your cells, in your muscle cells. So I don't really worry about it that much.
I think in the summer it buffers you. It gets getting dehydrated. I might start taking it again.
But then I was watching a deal, the guy said, creatine's funny because creatine actual uptake is greater with electrolytes.
Huh.
So when you're just taking like creatine gummies, you're probably missing out on the creatine, unless they're solid.
We're going to take a ride at the Red Barn.
I have never done that.
Really?
Well, but I've never gone down Cherokee either, which I thought was weird. Because
I ride that all the time.
It's weird not pulling into Milliken anymore if I'm riding.
Yeah.
Now I'll just laugh at every time I pull into Milliken because I crashed up there.
So one time I had this old retired couple try to stop me on their little golf cart thing.
Oh, you told me about that.
Yeah, who's private road? And I was like, Kai was with me. I go, pretend like you can't hear him. I said, slow down like you're going to stop, and then just go. And he was all like, well, come back here. I go, Kai, that's how you, just like dogs, like you slow down, and they just rock it. I could have sprayed it with water.
The other day I was out riding a squirrel and I had to come to keep speed. Sarah goes, were you worried about going down because of the squirrel? I was like, no, I just didn't want to run over the squirrel.
Yeah. You can get one in your front wheel.
It was right after that same dog over there on High Ho that I see every fucking time.
Those Hi-Ho dogs are a pain, dude.
You go all the way to Madison too?
Well, sort of. All right. I'm taking Gary down this terrible hill. It's like super technical. I bet it's really steep to get out of, but he's got gears and I do all right. Rowing the bike up the hill. So you surge the bike forward. Ooh. And then throw your bike over. You throw your bike under you forward and you alternate. And then throw your body over your bike back and forth. That down there is really close to the Navasota River. Like probably just a couple hundred yards maybe. I wasn't going to do that this ride, but I wanted to show Gary, since he's never been down this road, something pretty hard. That's a technical challenge right there.
Tilt your Varia to the right so it didn't pick up the shit on the highway.
Did I pick my what?
Your Varia is tilted to the right.
Oh yeah, so I don't pick up cars.
On the highway?
Yeah, it works.
I didn't think about that. You should be able to fine tune it, in my opinion.
I've tried putting a piece of tape on the left side.
That it just,
Hey, it kind of worked.
I know, but you should be able to adjust the width of the radar.
Yeah, the Wahoo is 35 degrees, and the Varia is 55 or something like that. Gary was asking why I have the rear radar turned off to the side, but I'm riding the feeder road. There's a freeway right next to us, and it's got a lot. Our road has no cars, and the feeder has or the highway has a lot. So I turn the radar because it's a round post.
Do they both work with both head units? Or they only work with their own head units?
I don't know.
I've never bothered.
What do you have?
I have the Garmin, but
Yeah, it looks like the Garmin.
when I'm in the Garmin, it's like Apple. Once you get in the Ecosphere,
Yeah, I kind of want to get that Amazfit T-Rex watch. Because nowadays I'm kind of a low maintenance trainer, you know? Like it checks all the boxes of what I need.
yeah.
And it's $250 or something. It's got everything that the Phoenix has for $1,000. And they're like, oh, you know, the Phoenix has better sleep tracking. Or I'm like, I don't care about that. I know if I slept well or not.
Oh, I only have mine on because I get paid by my insurance company.
Yeah. I can get reimbursed on some of mine.
No, I mean, I get paid every day.
I wonder if I could do that.
Every day I get 7 hours of sleep, I get 75 cents.
Oh.
Except the system wasn't designed for someone that trains all the time, because I'm about at the end of the maximum amount allowed per year. It's $300. So if you get 30 minutes of exercise or 10,000 steps, you get 75 cents. If you do that 5 days a week, you get $250.
See, I'd probably do really good with that.
Go learn the pole vault.
Oh! Oh!
Are you okay?
I'm okay. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, we crashed. How's the bike? There's a pothole back there. That, right there. Did you see it at all?
No.
You're having a rough day, dude.
It's not a good day. Right.
Hold on. I haven't looked at my bike yet. Did you break anything? So Gary hit a pothole. He's on a nice bike, a carbon bike. I'm on this beast. So the only thing I worry about is my pedals, really. His Garmin called his wife. Mine said my phone was disconnected.
No, I'm fine. All right now. All right now. Ready? All right. Ready?
How's your bike? I got that on audio. Maybe we'll be able to enjoy that. There's some blood right there.
Huh?
Let me see if my recorder's okay.
Yeah, hold on. You ready?
Hold on.
Just call 2?
Hold on, let me catch my breath for a second. Yeah, you went down, and so since I could tell I was going to go down, I kind of threw my bike out sideways, and then landed kind of flat and kind of rolled with it.
Did you want to clip?
Huh?
Did you want to clip?
I think it unclipped for me. Okay, hold on. I need more water and stuff, man. You know, it's 98 degrees. I think Gary's a little embarrassed. He's a really good cyclist. Let's see if my power meter still works. Yeah, seems to work. That's the worst crash I've been in a while. I mean, crashing on pavement sucks. I'm gonna have a little bit of road rash in my right hip. I don't mind crashing, dude. What happened, there was a pothole, and he and I were talking to each other, and he was looking at me and didn't see this pothole. And it was a sharp edge pothole, and it caught his front wheel and upset the bike. He's riding probably 42s with a rigid fork, no suspension. Which kind of go? I got a creak. God dang it! I got a clipping sound now. I hope he hadn't cut the ride short because he's all demoralized. That's his second crash. He's been riding Zwift a lot. Okay, he's behind me, but he got back on the bike. I took my bike in the REI to get the spoke fixed. And our REI in town is understaffed right now. So it took too many days. It took like 3-4 days for them to get around to it. But that's also where Kai applied for a summer job. And being a really competitive cyclist, and he worked at the local bike shop, another one, for 4 years part-time. They were like super stoked to hire him for the summer. We hadn't started yet. I took my wheel there hoping he'd get a chance to work on it, but they still haven't got a start date. Well, that was fun.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I put that in the category of fun.
Oh, my front wheel's got a bend in it. It's warped. I can see the brake pads moving back and forth. Shit. It could be from the wreck. I think it is. Okay, so the women's 200, the women are complaining that it was too dangerous and too many crashes that took out people for no good reason. And that'll be the second half of this show. We'll talk about that. But let's see, Carolina Mejean, I think she might be from Germany, got first. I forgot who got second. And then there was a 4-up sprint for third place. And the woman that won last year took a wrong turn at the very end, like in town, getting close to the finishing chute. Maybe I got a broken front spoke. What I didn't like is to fix the rear spoke, they had to take my tire off and do rim tape. And then I had really expensive Silca sealant in it. And they replaced it with orange seal. And I was like, oh man. He's like, dude, I had to take the tire off. I would say just like leave the sealant in there, dude. I'll pour the sealant out. But whatever. I got new rim tape for free. But what I really liked is I got a text message and an email that my bike was ready. God, both these rides would cost me $50. The broken spoke, last one, and now this bent front wheel. Because REI charged $44 to true the wheel. But I'm telling you what, going to an REI bike shop, man, they got everything. Gary went off and did a side road. So I think I'm going to show him this other side road up here that's gravel. So he knows it's there, because I don't think he knows it's here. But man, my upper back, that wreck. I didn't hit my head or anything. That's the upside of having a really old bike. Because it can take a beating, and then you haven't wrecked your race bike. Okay, so then, yeah, the women's race, Hannah Shell crashed out, Emily Newsom crashed out, both friends of the show. And they said, we'll talk about it later, you know, it's like unsafe riders. There's no good qualification process to be a pro. So you get people, we'll talk about it later, they're panicking, trying to keep up, and they don't have a lot of road experience. So they take risky stuff, but I'll save that for later. They cause crashes. And let's see, I wonder what the rest is. I think Drew got 35th. Let's see if Gary follows me on this road. I still got a long ways to get home, man. About half an hour after that. I don't think he followed me. he didn't follow me, I'm not going down it. I'm pooped. The heat. Yeah, I'm on this 30-year-old battle axe of a bike, and then Gary's on a relatively new Sparrow with electronic shifting, I think. Okay, we're back out on the highway. Since he didn't follow me, I'm gonna get back on. Especially now my front brake's rubbing. I think I'm done. My neck and my back hurt. It's really weird. Holy crap, it's 104 degrees. No wonder, dude. It's gonna be uphill to my house with a tailwind. This is a nice shade spot coming up. I'm gonna take a break for a little bit. Oh, I was not in my aero bars when I crashed. So there you go. We should ban flat bars based on that logic. What is up with my neck? I think I'm having this issue the past year. Past spring only. I get really hot. My neck and my upper back get really tight. It hurt. Far back. Okay, I don't know if you need to drive that slow next to me. Creeps me out. Okay, we're gonna get in the shade and cool down. Try to find a shady spot right here. We are at 3 hours and 43 minutes. It's 105 degrees. High humidity. This is rough. Okay, so I'm gonna drink water and fuel. See if I can cool down. The problem is when you bike in, it hurts. You know, like real legit pain. That's hard to continue on. If you're just kind of like, oh, I'm tired, that's one thing. Okay, I'm gonna take off my Camelback. As much hot work as I do, I honestly don't think I'm as heat adapted as I need to be. I mean, about 105 is ridiculous, dude. You can only do so much. Being heat adapted helps you in like 80s and 90s at most. There's a breaking point. We're in Texas, so you gotta look for fire ants before you lay down. And we're gonna lay down for a minute and rest my head on my Camelback. I'm way off the road, so I don't really have to worry about anybody stopping every 2 minutes to see if I'm okay. Are you alive? Oh, my ankle hurts. The top outside of my right foot, I think, took a hit. Oh. There is an incredible breeze where I'm sitting. Oh my God, and I'm soaking sweat. So hopefully I'll get cold here in a second. And maybe I'll call Emily. Maybe y'all can hear that if it's worth calling. What I'll do is I'll tell them if they're not doing anything else, a ride home would be nice. I'm still half an hour out and it's brutal. But if they are doing stuff, then don't worry about it, I'll be fine. As an outdoorsy person, I do not mind laying in the shade on a pretty day with my bike and recovering a little bit. I've done way harder than this, so. Although 105, that's pretty crazy. That's one of the hottest temperatures I've ridden. And the wind's out of the south off the Gulf, so it's carrying a whole bunch of humidity too. Heat index is probably 120, I bet. Okay, let's see. Let's call it Emily. I get to blame Gary, that'll be fun. It's like 20% his fault. Yeah. Accidents happen, I'm not that worried about it. I get the sun in my eyes. I need to move further in the shade.
Hello?
Hello.
Are you okay?
Mostly. Gary crashed into me. And now my front wheel's bent a little bit. It's rideable, but I'm resting in the shade. I just thought I'd let you know where I'm at.
Where's Gary?
I guess he kept on going after a while. I think he lost me. I went to the side road and I don't think he saw me turn off.
So when you sent a picture of him bleeding on his leg, that was when after he crashed into you?
That was before, and he crashed again. The first crash was all on his own before he found me. And then we were riding together on the feeder road. So we're on pavement, going at a pretty good clip. And then there was this pothole he didn't see. And he hit it and then lost control of his bike and then crashed into me and it took me down.
And then he just took off and left you?
No, we rode again. he wanted to get back on his bike and keep riding, even though he was all bloody and everything. And I'm like, let's just sit here, let's just chill. And then after a while, because I was starting to get pretty tired because it's so fucking hot, and I was like, just chill. And then we started riding again, and then I just, like, I noticed my front wheel is kind of wobbly. You know, it's just rubbing the brakes. But then, what happened? I was like, I looked down and my bike computer says it's 105 on the pavement. And so I was like, I'm going to stop and rest in the shade and try to cool down a little bit and then see if I can make it the rest of the way back.
Okay, so are you saying that you need me to come get you? Is that what you're calling for?
Well, if you are doing absolutely nothing else, you can come get me. If you're doing anything, don't worry about it.
Well, I was trying to put the tags on the dog's collars and come up with a list of things that needs to be done today that I need to do. But
well, I'll let you know. The breeze is... Well, the other thing is my neck and my back hurts. So, like, let me lay here for a little bit and cool down to see how I feel. I got tons of water and tons of Gatorade, so...
Where are you? How far away from home are you?
You know that volunteer fire station that never has anybody at it, that's at Peach Creek where it goes under Highway 6? You know how Peach Creek and 159 go under Highway 6? The place where I ran the stop sign and got a ticket?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, and that little white and red fire station shed building that's at that intersection that the cops like to hide in the trees?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so,
I'm just chilling at one of those trees right there.
Do you need me to come get you? That's what I'm asking. Not what I'm doing right now. Do I need to come get you? It sounds like I do, or you wouldn't have called.
Well, I was calling you mostly because I'm going to be here for 20 minutes to cool down. So if you're looking for me...
But then from there, it's how many miles back?
Oh, it's half an hour.
Okay, so I'll come get you. That's what it sounds like needs to happen.
Okay, you want to bring a beer? A cold beer?
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
Okay, well, let me put some shorts on, and then I'll head that way.
Okay.
Okay, all right, I love you.
All right, love you. Bye.
Okay, all right, bye.
The problem with Emily coming to get me is it takes way longer. Nothing on her. It takes way longer than you think it would. The last time she came and got me, it was forever. But I wasn't in a very nice spot, you know. So it kind of sucked. But here, I could probably just take a nap. I don't think anybody can see me. Hey, we could wrap up the show. So what we're going to talk about next, after this next little part, is why the race is so dangerous and ideas. And they're only half-baked ideas, so don't at me. You know, I have strong opinions, but I'm not saying they're right. And let's talk about the 100 and the 50. While I drink some water here. And some Gatorade. What I like to do is drink Gatorade first, and then when I drink water, it rinses the Gatorade sugar out of my teeth. I'm not cavity proof, but I think it helps. Yeah, so the 100, what's really cool about Unbound and races like this is when they do a whole bunch of different distances. So the 100, something that stood out with that is Ben Delaney, who's a fellow YouTuber and, you know, social media, whatever person. I really look up to him because he's my age and he's does a fantastic job, and he's got my retirement plan, you know, where when I when I retire from my day job, I'd really like to do that full time, and he's doing it really good, really well, and he won the 100 miler. And what's funny is this is what we're dealing with the 200 being so competitive that I think we're going to see people doing the 100 and the 350 of all kinds of races instead of the, you know, whatever like the marquee event is for a race. I think they're getting so competitive that people are wanting to do the other races. And honestly, you know, like, why do people pick? I'm trying to get this microphone closer. Why do people pick the race that they do and just make that one the most popular? And there's been talk about, you know, this whole thing where in gravel where the longer the race, that's the real race, you know, and it's a little bit of a sickness because the other races, you know, even though if they're shorter or whatever, you just go harder, you know. And but anyway, Ben Delaney won, and he's like 49, which is really impressive. And then with the 50, Isabel King won that, the women's race of the 50, 7 months pregnant, and shows, dude. Her everything but the baby bump is like freaking, super athletic. I think she's a pro racer, and I know she is. And then this bump. And funny story is Emily did a triathlon 2 months pregnant with Kai, I think. And we didn't know she was pregnant. And I probably would have been like, let's not do this. But we didn't know. And the big joke is Kai did a triathlon before he was even born. So that's pretty funny. And it was a women's only triathlon. And Emily had a man on board. So, was she cheating? But yeah, those were the 2 other races. So I'll try to think if there was any other tech or the suspension forks. Yeah. Were Unbound. The problem with the suspension forks is you have to do maintenance, or else they stop working as well. And the first thing to go is the very fine reactivity, the real suppleness of it. That's what goes first if you don't do maintenance. And that's actually what you need most in gravel, is that fine response. So it just smooths out the pebbles and the little rocks and stuff. And you got to do maintenance. Nobody really does, but you're supposed to do maintenance at like 50 hours. And I was listening to something, and they were like, just do like once a year, be fine usually. And depends, but whatever. And so since it's maintenance and costs more money, is this really something for the pros? Because it's borderline if you really need it or not. It does make you faster, but it's a luxury that's kind of like, and most of us just want to get on our bikes and ride. My bike has a suspension fork, but it's such a crappy old suspension fork that what it does for me is it takes the edges off the hits, the big hits. I think the suppleness is gone. You can't maintain it. It's such a cheap one, and it's 15 years old. It still works, and I like it, and it's effective. But at gravel riding, the big problem is, like with Gary just now, you hit something big that's a surprise that you weren't expecting, and that knocks you all over the place and takes down your next door Brett cyclist. Oh, my foot might be injured. It's starting to hurt. I either went down on my right foot or he hit me as he swerved into me. And then there's 2 other solutions. A suspension stem works pretty freaking great. And I have that on my regular gravel bike. And so I got a red shift, and it's nice. And after 2 or 3 years of riding it, I finally, it got a little sloppy in the suspension portion of it. And I just ordered new elastomers and opened it up and took the old elastomers out, which had kind of pancaked a little bit. So it wasn't working as good. And then put new elastomers in, and that's it. I did it all by myself. It was cheap. If you get a suspension fork service, it's a lot of money. Well, it's a lot, but it's something. And then you're without your bike for a while, And I did the suspension stem thing in like an hour probably at my house with parts I ordered off of Amazon. And then another interesting bike is Specialized Diverge. Has suspension built into the steerer tube above the head tube. So it doesn't work as well as a suspension fork, but it works better than a suspension stem a little bit, because a suspension stem, there's a hinge. I think there's one that doesn't, though. I think there's one that moves like in a parallelogram. Anyway, the whole cockpit moves up and down instead of like on the Redshift suspension stem, like I've got the end of the bars move up and down. So the further you get away from the bike, the more suspension there is, but then your bars are dipping. Now, it's something you totally get used to. It's nice. It doesn't really matter that much. But the problem is you get less suspension if you're riding on the tops than you are at the stems, or the hoods, So, all right, I'm going to get off the mic, and when Emily gets here, hopefully she brought a beer, and then I can chill. And I'm fine. This is actually kind of nice. Just leaving with some sounds of the cicadas. And when we drop off here, we pick up with I'm leaving the pool after a swim, and then I talk about the safety issues that I'm down and some ideas. Okay? All right. I'm going to drink some water and some Gatorade, and be right back. Bye. Bye.